Oh, my stomach. Hello, everyone. Huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by. Once again, joined by Will Powell from the UK. This time, Will wanted to talk about the immortal classic from 1979 by the name of. What's the name of the movie, Will?
Alien,
Alien,
1979.
1979. Alien. Alien. It's like a football team, cheerleaders. But anyway, what made you want to talk about Alien?
I was thinking because we left it on our last one when we were talking about Dirty Harry. I was thinking about what I'd like to talk about next, and for some reason, Alien just came into my mind. Um, it's fun. I don't like, I could just say right now it's a fantastic 10 out of 10 film. So review done.
All right, Will, it's been a pleasure. We'll
Yeah,
see you on the
that's all
next
you need
one.
to know.
All right, thanks, Will. Bye.
No problem.
But yeah, I'd have to agree. The Alien has a much bigger place in my heart than Dirty Harry does, for the record, and it's been a part of my life for much longer. This might be a perfect opportunity for us to share, if you'd like to. When Alien, you can go first if you'd like. When Alien, the first film, entered into your life.
Well, I knew you'd ask that because that's how we start off every episode, which is good because I was thinking back, and it just kind of charted my mind back to the 90s and sparked a memory. And I think it would probably be 1997, 1998. So I was really young, 6 or 7.
Oh hell!
Well, I didn't see it at that point, but my first memory of having knowledge of the film is around then. Can you remember the animated movie Hercules coming out?
You mean the Disney one?
Yeah, the Disney one.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it.
So obviously, I was just exact right age to go and see that. It was kind of a nice treat for a 7, 8 year old, 6, 7, yeah, something like that. So if I'm not exactly sure what year it came out. Anyway, my memory is going to the cinema, which was called the ABC Cinema in Mansfield, Nottinghamshire. So that's a town about half an hour away from Nottingham. And I remember it only had 3 screens, so you had to queue up. I seem to remember this a lot, queuing up outside to go and see movies. And I think obviously movies were probably bigger back then and a lot more unique than like now when we stream everything. And I think because it was a small cinema, people used to queue up outside. This might have been a one-off, I don't know. But I remember seeing a poster outside, or one of those kind of special cinema posters where it's lit up a bit, of Alien and the egg, that front cover. And I don't know, it must have been re-released around that time. I don't know if it was a special edition or a director's cut or something. Do you remember it around that time? I don't know.
No, I don't. The only time in America, I can remember Alien being re-released director's cut would have been 2003, I want to say.
Oh, really? Well, it may have been, how your memory kind of just gets muddled up a bit like dreams. And I'm even thinking, was this a dream that I saw this? But it just sticks out in my head. And maybe it was advertising the first DVD of it or something. I don't know. It could have been. But I just remember seeing that, and I may have said to my mum and dad, "It's like, oh, what's that, Alien?" I was like, "Well, we're not going to see that." So that was my first memory of it, just that poster. So I think when you say Alien, my mind automatically goes to that iconic, creepy poster, really. And then the year 2000, I remember getting the Guinness Book of Film, which was like kind of the Bible for me. That's where I learned about loads of films. I remember you go through every year. So 1971, Dirty Harry, tell you all the top other movies, and it would also parallel itself at the top with all the kind of the news at that time. Kind of like the social commentary of kind of going in parallel with it. Anyway, so flick to 1979, and there's Alien, and another creepy image from the film. and it'd tell you who directed it and who'd star. So yeah, great book. And then someone the same person who lent me Terminator then said, "Have you seen Alien?" I said, "No, but I've heard of it." So that's when I watched it. I watched it on he lent me just his copy that he'd recorded off TV. Probably had we call them adverts, you call them commercials, left in. So yeah, that's the first time I saw it. So that's quite a long story. So I was very aware of it years before seeing it, and yeah, but I don't think I knew particularly who Sigourney Weaver was or John Hurt until I saw that film. So yeah, that's the first time I saw it. So I probably saw it in its entirety when I was 11 or 12, I think.
What was your reaction to it at that tender age?
I thought it was great, and it's kind of a good stepping stone into horror, I think. Because I don't think I'd even seen an American Werewolf in London at that point. Probably the only horror I'd seen was Jaws, if you call that horror. Yeah, I think it's grown on me even more as I've got older. There was a time in my teenage years when I would probably say, "Oh no, Aliens is one of the rare cases where it's better than the original." But as I've got older and more mature, I think Alien is the one now. That's the masterpiece of them. I still really like Aliens, but I think Alien is arguably, you could call it a masterpiece actually. Certainly a visual masterpiece, if anything.
Well, very, very, very cool. Incidentally, yeah, we're in agreement here. I pretty much ever since I saw it, maybe not so much when I was, I don't know. There might have been times where Alien and Aliens tied for me, but ever since I saw it, which I'll get into a little bit in a minute, I contended that the first film was the best, and I think the general consensus tends to lean more towards people preferring Aliens, and I think it's just kind of because they like the slam bang action aspect to Aliens. It's easy to say that Aliens is definitely much more of a commercial kind of accessible extravaganza.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's a little bit more maybe digestible. It's a bit more of a breezy watch. It's faster paced. It's still, I will give it its credit because people say it's straight into the action. That Alien still does take its time, and I appreciate that. And it's still a really well-made film, and it's not to put Aliens down, but this got here first, and I think it's as I was telling you before we started recording, I watched it on my home projector, and I've got a new appreciation for it completely now, even more so. Just how beautiful it looks. Which I don't think Aliens visually has the same cinematic panache to it.
No, and the irony is when the Blu-rays came out of all four films, I've only got the first three on Blu-ray because I don't really like the fourth one. But I think it's pretty much academic that a lot of people, including myself, regard the image quality on the Blu-ray of Alien much superior to Aliens when it's an older movie. It's kind of interesting.
Well, I think that's Ridley Scott's magic. He's he's renowned for building these worlds like Blade Runner, and obviously not practically speaking, it's not just him. Obviously, it's his team and cinematographers. But Aliens, as I'm getting older, it's got that classic James Cameron blue tint all the way through it, which is fine. But the first Alien has just got such cinematic quality to it, and it's gorgeous looking film.
Very cool. Well, I don't want to forget to talk about my first introduction to Alien. This goes all the way back to basically, I think, the summer of '86, I want to say, is when Aliens, the second one, came out, and my dad and I went to the drive-in theater to see Aliens. I'd never seen the original yet at this point, and I think I was a little young to see Aliens at the time. I remember some of the gore and the scary stuff scared me. I spent a lot of the movie in the last half of it not really watching it because I mean, shit, I would have been what, like 9 years old or something at the time, and I was a pussy until I was like 11 and 12. Many would say I'm still a pussy. That's their opinion, but that was my first thing. My dad, I explained, or I asked my dad, "What's this Aliens about?" He's like, "Well, there used to, this is a sequel to a movie where some alien comes out of someone's stomach," and he kind of explained it to me, and he kind of watched it. It'd be really cool to know what the other movie was because there's usually always two movies at a drive-in. It would have been cool to know what the other one was. But that was my first exposure to the well, I guess it wasn't. Well, I guess you really couldn't call it a franchise at the time, but the two movie. The first couple movies, and then it wouldn't probably be until I was 11, same age, strangely enough, as you were, that my dad and I probably rented it, and I remember, really loving the sci-fi aspect to it. But once again, that was right teeter-totter on the age, right just before I started to get comfortable with, really violence and gore and movies and stuff. So the chest burster scene really just, kind of disturbed me as 11-year-old. So we saw it once that way, and then like I can remember the summer when I was 12 years old, it was on TV, and this is back in the day where, I mean, they put up on the TV, this wasn't cable, this was broadcast television. They'd show a movie like this, late at night, and they'd say viewer discretion is advised, and they'd bleep out the swear words, but I'm pretty sure they showed Alien on broadcast television without anything cut except for just bleeped out swear words. So like none of the violence or the gore was cut, which is really amazing to think about, really. And I remember taping. My plan was to record it off a TV, and I got until just after the chest burster scene, and that it just even though I'd seen it already months before. It disturbed me so much that I stopped recording, and then I regretted that so much because I can remember, getting weeks and months older wanting to watch Alien, and it's like, oh shit, I only have like the first half recorded. I was so pissed at myself for stopping recording, but in a couple months or weeks later, it was on TV again, and I'd be able to record the whole thing. But that was my first experience with Alien, and I can just remember. Even now, we can obviously get into it further, but even now, the chest burster scene makes me nervous as it's approaching because it's just like so visceral and just so well done. But I instantly, as a kid, completely loved the world, or the not world, but just the whatever you can call it the world. We'll call it the world or the space.
It is really.
The planet, just the environment that Ridley Scott and his team created in Alien, and it's kind of like, I mean, I guess in a way George Lucas was kind of the first to do like the truckers in space thing. It kind of borrows from the truckers in space thing, but it's just done. The production design and the sound design is like even to this day, like in my opinion, unmatched. And we can't forget to mention Jerry Goldsmith's absolutely amazing and haunting,
fantastic,
haunting music. But
very subtle music, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, ever since before I got into horror, I was a big sci-fi geek, and I still am. And Alien was a perfect meshing of like sci-fi and horror.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get back to saying you only like recorded up to the chest bursting scene. And it just made me think, growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, I saw a lot of movies that were kind of just, you tuned 15 minutes in because, I don't know, something had been recorded over it, or you may have just, your dad maybe had just hit play and record when he got in from work, and that's the only time he could catch it. So it's funny you say that. I remember that with a lot of videos back then, just kind of like a movie clipping off 10 minutes before the end and stuff like that. So yeah, I found that quite relatable, actually.
Yeah, the good old VHS days. And I would imagine you had commercials over there as well that you'd try to edit out, and you'd miss a part of the beginning when it came back from commercial. And
no, we didn't quite do. We used to. Well, I remember I didn't. It's a little bit after, before my time. My parents saying they used to do that with the top 40 on the charts, and try and stop it before the DJ would and talk. But no, I can't remember trying to like literally manually edit out the adverts. No, I think I just fast forwarded through them, watching it back. But yeah, that's you just don't get that now, do you? That kind of randomness of kind of videotape magic, I guess. And I remember watching some movies, and then the Looney Tunes had come in halfway through, and then some other random stuff, and then the tape had finally run out or something. So yeah, it just brings back memories. But yeah, I agree with everything you say. Just being blown away by. I mean, sometimes you forget. You just kind of go, "Oh yeah, Aliens is great. It's a classic." But like, I watched it last night on the projector, and I just kind of. I think it's a movie. I think it's one of the great movies. You get something out of it different every time. You know, it's more detail, and especially with watching it on the screen. Yeah, it's such a it's eye candy if you're really into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would imagine because in the States now on Blu-ray there's the original cut and the director's cut from '03. I'm assuming you're watching the '79 cut, or do you have an option on
Yeah.
your on your Blu-ray?
There's deleted scenes. It's not. I know what the director's cut is. I just watched the theatrical, the standard version.
Okay, yeah, I do as well. I didn't really like he made some trims to scenes that I thought didn't need to be trimmed. That like the famous shot of like at the very beginning when Dallas is going into that computer room, and there's just this pan across the bridge and just showing the set. In the '03 director's cut, he cut that out, and it's just like, oh come on, man.
Yeah.
The movie's how many decades old, and you're gonna trim something that's been in there for almost like 30 years. It's like,
Yeah. Now I remember buying the DVD I watched last night is the DVD I've had for years, and I remember buying it off a market stall, just an outside market stall, and probably cost me, I don't know, back then, I don't know, £4 or something like that. Yeah, and it's just, I don't think it's the director's cut on it. I think it's just the theatrical, and then you can watch deleted scenes and the special features bit. So.
oh, here, before we continue on with the movie, I just wanted to ask about the DVD. The first DVD I got was, I don't know when it came out in the States, maybe '99. They came out with all four in a box set. And the first DVD I have of it has this really, really cool alternate audio track where it's like what they call the production audio, like the raw audio before.
Yeah.
Does yours have that?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
That is so. That is so.
Rings a bell.
That is so fun because you can hear just the doors just moving, like sounding like wood dragging, and it's so fun.
Yeah, that is cool. I was fully immersed in it, so I wasn't even thinking about things like that. But yeah, I think you strip a movie back to its rawest form like that. It's quite comical just to hear. Just the noises the actual actors were making.
Yeah, and you might want to go, if you haven't heard it yet, you might want to go to the scene where Ash is being beat to shit and stuff, and click to that raw audio. You can hear Ridley Scott say like, "Beat the shit out of it."
All right, nice. I like that. Yeah. One bit that really made me laugh I'd never noticed before. When Ripley she's had it with Mother, and she goes, "You bitch," because she can't disarm the bomb.
Yeah.
One bit that made me chuckle is I think that I heard it. So she's still chuntering. She's like, she's left that room. She's got fucking bitch. I don't know. I think I heard that. She's like still pissed off with the Mother. It just made me laugh.
Yeah, the movie, when it gets into like the high tension stuff, is so real and visceral, and it might be one of the most real and visceral movies I can think of. Like, it's when stuff hits the fan, it's just so real and visceral.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. It's kind of reinvigorated my need to like watch movies again, and I think this seeing it on a home projector, it just reminded me how much I love films. And as you get older, you don't always get time. Like I used to when I was a teenager, I could just kind of close the curtains and watch movies all afternoon. I don't have that time anymore. But I will make a point of watching more films of this caliber. Because I just felt really. Oh, it's been lingering with me all day. I think that's the sign of a good movie when it just repeats on you. Yeah. So, should we talk about the cast?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say that is Tom Skerritt top billing? He very well might
Yeah,
be.
which is interesting, isn't it? Because you think Sigourney Weaver. I always thought that was because I used to study this film book. I'll have to send you just a little clip of. I'll just show you this book I had because that's kind of where all my first knowledge of films come from. And I'm almost like Rain Man with it. I can name all the films, what year and everything, up until 2000, from the 20s to the 2000, more or less. Especially when you get the 70s, like kind of like I've got a lot of it memorized almost because I used to read it all the time. Yeah, and in this book, it's say Alien 1979. I think it was the biggest movie of the year actually, according to them. And it's a director, and then starring Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, and then I think John Hurt, which is interesting. I don't know if Tom Skerritt's deliberately the main character, so it throws you off when he dies more or less halfway through. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's very possible. I'm not very familiar with him with his filmography, so usually I would imagine the way it works is kind of the more I guess established or popular is top
Yeah,
billing. But I don't really know Tom Skerritt's filmography. But if that wasn't the case in the case of Tom Skerritt and Alien, you might very well be right, where they just kind of put him as top billing as a kind of a tease to make you think, well, he's
yeah,
gonna be the one who's gonna survive.
yeah. I mean, the biggest actor at that time, the most well-known, would have been John Hurt. So I mean, they could have even done it with him, but they don't. Maybe it's because he's a captain, Tom Skerritt's character.
Yeah, that's very possible. Yeah.
I always got when I was a kid, when you get things kind of a bit confused sometimes. I always thought Tom Skerritt and Tom Selleck were the same person. So I was like, "Where's Tom Selleck?" It was like because I knew him from Friends and stuff, and I was waiting for Tom Selleck to turn up.
Well, how do you think you'd like Alien if Tom Selleck was in it?
Well, I think that mustache would get the better of the alien. I don't think it'd stand a chance. That's all I'd say. His
Exactly.
hulking, his hulking manliness.
The face hugger would try to go on his face and jump right off whimpering.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I think the cast is top notch, and I'm always kind of a bit upset when Dallas, Tom Skerritt's character, dies because I kind of like he could be my favorite character in the film apart from Ripley.
Yeah, he's very realistic, and I love the way, and they must have made a point to do this. I love the way, and it's so realistic how like the Tom Skerritt character is so just not in this whole thing of being, because for anyone, I'm sure everyone listening knows what this movie's about. For anyone who doesn't know, they're on their way back to Earth after I don't know, getting some certain ore from some other planet or whatever, and they're all in hibernation, and they're woken
Mm-hmm.
up by the computer to go check out this
Yeah,
SOS distress beacon on this other alien planet. And the way Tom Skerritt is kind of like just reluctantly like just doesn't want to be doing any of this stuff, kind of like that line where he's
yeah,
like, get ready to disengage from platform. He's just so like
Yeah.
not he wants to be sleeping. He doesn't want to be doing this shit, and it's just
Yeah.
so realistic how he's just so blah.
Absolutely.
He's the top billing, but he's so blah. But I love it.
Mm. I love it too. And even you say that on the other hand, I was kind of thinking about he still seems like a good captain because he's kind of very neutral. That treats everyone the same. Um, he doesn't want to get into the gossip. You know what I mean? He kind of like loses his rag a bit. We're like, well, you cut the bullshit. I just want to get the hell out of here. He's kind of like, he's almost like he feels like he's been doing this for years and he's had enough, but he's still going to do the job, if that makes sense.
Yeah, almost like a school bus driver with a bunch of ornery kids.
Yeah, and a line that's always stuck with me is when he just says, "I don't trust anybody," and I kind of reigns true in a way. You can't trust anyone to a certain degree, and I mean that with all due respect to all my friends and people like you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't trust anybody. And I always love when he says that. Fantastic. And the one thing that rubs me the wrong way about Prometheus was they act like the kind of in Star Trek a bit, the space. It's all kind of like geeky and like, yeah, we're on a mission. We got to do this. We got to, you know what I mean? Like kind of like a very serious kind of outdatedness to it. Prometheus, the way they acted, but they just feel timeless in Alien. Just how we talk, or if you've hung around with people for long enough, you kind of do get fed up with each other.
Yeah, well, I think that's just, I'd agree completely on that, and that's just the magic of the older films. I mean, the problem with Prometheus is it was, it came out in whenever it came out, 2012, and, by then, I mean, movies have just become this corporate product, and, just this, I mean, they were always that to an extent, but I think it's a slow, as the decades wore on, they just became more and more in regards to writing, acting, and in general, they're just more robotic and stuff. So yeah, like you were saying, just them cliched kind of space movie lines in Prometheus and
Yeah,
this and
exactly.
that. So I'd agree.
Yeah, yeah. They just all want to get home, and they're kind of there's a lot of bitchiness going on, which is very true to life. Ripley doesn't like Ash. Ash doesn't like her. What's the? I'm forgetting Harry Dean Stanton's character. What's his name in it?
Yeah, I can't even say I don't even know if I can remember it right now. Damn it.
And the other and Parker. Sigourney Weaver's always telling him to shut up, and yeah, there's a lot to be said. Actually, and I think they're dressed very timelessly. I mean, they could have put them in spacesuits and made them look like, say, Star Trekky, but there's like a timelessness to it,
Yeah, I think the production design and costumes like hold up today, like it came out, like the movie came out yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, I'm telling you, it doesn't look like it came out yesterday because things that come out
because
crap.
Good call.
Well, I'll tell you, Nate, I've just been to the cinema tonight to watch a film, and all the trailers, superhero crap, and the new Avatar movie, and I'm telling you, it looks like a hollow video game. I think it's an insult to call them films now. I'm gonna, I think it's my time to rant tonight because seeing Alien last night, and I was thinking something's gone wrong. This movie is now 43 years old, and it looks better than what's coming out. And I watched this just on a DVD. It wasn't an enhanced Blu-ray. It was a DVD, and it looks incredible. And films today look more or less, I'd say 90% of the time, terrible. So something's gone wrong.
Well said, and feel free to rant more if you need to.
No, but it just things are supposed to improve, and they have in a certain way. But God, the care and attention, the love in Alien is just off the charts. I mean, it's just fantastic. I honestly felt like I was on that ship with them. Um, it's fantastic, and it just makes me sad that I just feel like we're being constantly dumbed down, and yeah,
Well, I think you're dead on. Unfortunately, that's what they're trying to do.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into the kind of like the philosophical politics of it, but just what my eyes are seeing. It's like, I mean, we can't even be trusted to let people just sit for a film and let it build now. Everything has to happen. We're just trapped like we're morons now. It's the same with music as well.
Well, here's another thing. What about the trailer fad? I mean, it's not everything on YouTube, but the trailer fad of like the clip of the trailer before the trailer
Yeah,
starts.
exactly.
I mean, holy pathetic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not me personally having a go at people. There's still some great art out there, some great music, and I stumble on it on Spotify. Some great artists, and it still sounds kind of some great films. But I'm talking about, you've got to remember, Alien was a massive studio release, wasn't it? I mean, and it's artistic as hell, and there's so much care and attention and professionalism and craftsmanship involved in it. And it'd just be nice if we could be fed that again, or just, you hear what I'm saying?
I absolutely do, and it is a shame, but that's what makes me appreciate the fact that
Yeah,
we have so many of these good movies that we can enjoy,
yeah,
over and over. That's what the
yeah,
last 10 or 20 years of my life has been,
yeah,
more enjoying the old stuff and discovering old
yeah,
stuff instead of seeing new stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was watching it last night, and I could feel like the coldness of the corridors, and I feel like I can touch the walls in it. I felt that it's so visceral, the set designs and everything, and just the atmosphere. And I'm sitting at the cinema watching on a screen, 4 times as big, probably even bigger than that, and just what I don't know what was this. There's a new Pierce Brosnan movie. He's not the superhero movie character, but I don't know what it is. Starring The Rock, and it just looks dreadful. And Avatar 2 looks dreadful, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not to get too much into it, but it's crazy how much Avatar 2 doesn't. You think there'd be like improvements in over
No, it just
10 years, but it looks the
yeah.
same.
Yeah, I mean, it might piss a lot of people off, and if people really dig these new superhero movies, this is a bit more of their time. I'm probably being a little bit biased, but I'm giving you reasons. I'm not just saying, oh, it was better back in the old days. I'm actually giving you objective reasons why I think that. You know what I mean?
I sure do.
I'm not just being like doing it out of stubbornness. Um, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, you carry on, Nate. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I've had this in my mind. I might as well say it now so I don't forget, but I can remember while you were talking about other things, this came to mind. A funny memory, actually, it's not a memory because I was so young, but a factoid that I think my dad told me later on was that actually in 1979, when Alien was in the theater, we had all gone to see, my mom, my dad, and I, to go see like this reissuing of Fantasia. My mom wanted to bring
Okay.
me to this this reissuing of theatrical release of Fantasia, the Disney film. And of course, I mean, it's not really, if anyone knows what Fantasia is, it's really kind of just abstract nonsense. So I don't know if my parents knew that or not, but anyway, it was kind of like, oh, it's a Disney film, we'll take Nate to go
Mm.
see it. And I don't remember any of this, but I think my dad told me years later that he got, and understandably so, he got bored with Fantasia. And like, I don't know if it was halfway through Fantasia, my dad, I don't remember this. He just told me it years later. My dad left the theater and into another theater where Alien was playing. So
Mm.
that's my dad's history with Alien. I don't imagine. I don't know if he would have started Alien from the beginning or gone into the halfway
Yeah.
point into Alien, but that's something that came to mind while you were talking about Alien. That's kind of a funny story.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I mean, that'd been the first time he'd have seen it then.
Yeah, that probably would have been the
Yeah.
first. I wish I could ask him if he'd, how much of it he saw. Unfortunately, there's no
Hmm.
way for me to ask him anymore as he's not with us. But it would be interesting to know, like, at what point he walked into Alien.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, it's funny, like thinking about that. I think about like my parents when they'd seen films back in the day, what it felt like to see things like Mum and Dad went to see Jaws in Southwest in Newquay, right on the seaside, 1975, and they saw it when it was the biggest film ever. So I just I wondered what it'd be like because you got to remember, I mean, Alien and Jaws, Star Wars, are all groundbreaking stuff. Um, yeah, must have blown people away.
Yeah, I bet you're a little bit envious of them having seen it in the theater, or seen a lot of these movies in the theater.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it must have been something, especially, I mean, Alien, the chest bursting scene. I mean, we had Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Last House on the Left, so we had some pretty shocking stuff before that. But I was watching that scene yesterday, and it felt really. I felt sorry for John Hurt. Like he's almost like crying like a. He slips back into like almost being crying out for pain, like he's crying out for his mother, like help. He's so helpless in that scene. Um, and I'm just imagining this thing crawling around, how painful that would have been. Trying to, but oh god, um, yeah, I really felt his pain, which shows how great and effective his acting is and the effects they used at the time. And one thing I noticed when he's dead, when it pops out of him, his hands are twitching, which I don't think I'd ever noticed before.
Yeah, the maybe the benefit of the big projected screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, should we talk about that scene a little bit more? Isn't it the actual reaction? A lot of you see the actors, they didn't know that was going to happen, or they hadn't rehearsed it fully, or something like that. I don't know.
From what I understand, that's the story is that they're
Yeah.
and they're basically reacting to it for real.
Mm. I mean, you got to think how much they were reacting to it. I mean, film Trickery and getting an alien to pop out. I mean, there must have been obviously cuts and stuff, but yeah, they do generally look. There's like quite a funny scene where they all kind of look to the right where the alien's gone, and it's like they all just kind of look stunned. It's like a split second. But yeah, I mean that's one of the most iconic scenes ever, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I say, even to this day, I get a little nervous as that scene's approaching.
Mm.
I'm like, maybe it has a part to do with seeing it at such a tender young age, I would imagine. But it's really a well done scene.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so kind of great. I like how there's all this tension, and then it's Kane, isn't it? John Hurt's character. Is he his character Kane? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. Which I thought was good. Like he wakes up and they cheer up a little bit. It's like, oh, it's going to be all right. And Tom Skerritt's kind of like trying to lighten the mood. Hey, I'm by, and I thought that was kind of nice. How they kind of bonded again a little bit. Just kind of there was a sense of relief. We're going home now, and then it all turns to shit. So I thought that was cool.
yeah, the good call. And that was probably a deliberate writing ploy to
Mm,
get people relaxed before it hit the
yeah.
fan. Yeah.
I mean, people are like that. If they see someone kind of a man down, you'll kind of like rally around them and try and cheer them up a bit. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're trying
absolutely.
to almost like trying to lighten the mood a little bit. And so, yeah, fantastic.
And
Uh,
not to mention like when the alien or the face hugger comes off his face and they put it under the microscope or whatever. I guess from what I understand, they put all
mm,
kinds of the real clams and actually organic
well,
things
yeah,
inside.
I was thinking that it really does look organic, doesn't it?
Yeah, and talk about
Looks fantastic.
a genius genius thing to do because you really can't replicate that with rubber and latex and
Mm,
So pretty
Yeah,
genius to put in
I just
actual.
I didn't know that actually.
Oh, okay. Now you got to go watch it
That's
again
cool.
and.
Yeah. Um, I love all that stuff. I kind of like. I'm a sucker for a film that's like, we've got a problem. Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try this. And I like all the kind of medical scenes where they're trying to get it off him, and I like all that. Yeah, I love all the. I think that some of the best Dallas bits, it's like, we got to get that. What the hell is that? We've got to get it off him. I like all that. And they're watching through the window, the rest of the crew, and he's like, "Yes, I'll take responsibility. I want to get it off him." And all that. It's really cool. And obviously the acid blood going through each floor of the ship is really cool.
Yeah, and when you watch the movie on repeat, obviously you know the position that the character of Ash plays, where he's like the whole time he's probably knows
Mm.
whole time he probably knows what he's on that planet for and what he's supposed to come back with and stuff. So here you've got everyone else who isn't in the know, dealing
Hmm.
with this guy who's trying to coerce, like you say, Dallas wants to get this thing off his face and get the hell rid of it, but
Mm.
we can only assume that Ash has other orders.
Yeah, he's kind of playing it cool because he just kind of half try to get it off, but then they did try to get it off, but Ash is the one to say, "Oh, hang on a minute. If we take it off, it might kill him." And all that. It's feeding him oxygen and stuff, which is actually a good point, which is a legit argument. And when they're trying to take it off with those like utensils, whatever, and it starts tightening up around his neck. Like just say all these scenes hold up incredibly well. I mean, look better. Like I said, look better than what's coming out today. But that thing on his face it looks gross, but it's incredible.
Yeah, and how scary is that? Now that you mention it, that this thing's on your face, and you're, basically it's more. It would be more or less suffocating you, but
Mm.
it's letting you breathe through it. I mean that is like, I don't know if people really think about how creepy that is. Like it's letting
Mm.
you, it's 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 breathing for you more or less, and it's just like, oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah, it's creep. I mean, also I don't like spiders and parasites, and ugh, it just kind of gives me the creeps. And that thing feels real. It doesn't look fake at all. It looks freaking the motion of it and everything. It's just, I mean, what? It's genius, really.
Oh, this might be a good opportunity to talk about H.R. Geiger.
H.R. Geiger. The effects guy.
The guy who designed the alien. Yeah, I was worried
Oh,
there.
okay,
I was worried that
okay, all
Will was gonna go HR who?
right. Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, the actual design of the alien.
Yeah, from what I understand, Ridley Scott, who's the director of the movie, for anyone who doesn't know who's listening, he saw some kind of book that H.R. Geiger had done full of, sketches or paintings or whatever, the Necronomicon, I think he called it or whatever.
Uh,
But he basically saw something in that book that from what I understand, pretty closely resembled what the grown alien would turn out to be. And what an amazing design. I would imagine Geiger had a hand in designing the face hugger as well.
mhm. Yeah, I couldn't think who. I've got to be honest. I don't like to seem pretentious, but I couldn't think who that was. And now you said, I know who you mean. I know for shame. Um, I do forget a lot of the behind the scenes stuff sometimes, but obviously very famous creature design. I should have twigged a little bit sooner on that one, but
Hey, it's all okay.
it's. I mean, again, I was just in awe of it. Everything last night, I was completely in awe of this film, and I'm so glad I watched it before doing this. Um, the alien, it's just looks organic, doesn't it? I think that's the best way to describe it. when it's in its full form and fully grown, and it's slimy and it's gross, but it's kind of gross. And I'm not the person to say this. It's got like an erotic kind of. I've heard people say that before.
Yeah, that's true. The tail, depending on which way it's sticking, can be also very
Yeah,
very pahalic. Yeah, pahalic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that is talk about the thing of nightmares. It's yeah, creepy, and also just sinister as well. I mean, this thing is just it's just off the charts. It's fantastic. I mean, I can't praise this film enough, really.
What are your thoughts on like the sound design? For me, it's one of the greatest achievements in sound design in science fiction. Just the all the layers of sound for the different rooms and corridors and areas in the ship, and just whoever came up with the sounds for the the sound design, it should really, I mean, yeah, it's really well done work. And in a lot of ways, the sound design for the first film, Alien, it just like it's almost its own genre for me. It's like so cool, and subtle stuff going on that you might not hear the first or second or third or fourth time. But like you said, this could also go in regards to the sound as well as visuals. Like every time you watch it, you may catch something different or something new that you hadn't noticed before, visually and sound wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it really takes its time with stuff like that. Just like in the opening, before they've even woken up, there's a lot of computer noises and little creaks and howls of open space, and just creates such atmosphere. There's like, correct? Is it like a howl a lot through the? It's like a lot of that going on through it.
Oh, the sound design is so freaking layered. It's really a work
Yeah,
of art in
fantastic.
itself, and all the like the just
Yeah.
the computer sounds for whatever reason and stuff. That brings to mind. Have you ever played the? I would recommend it. I don't know how much you play games. I don't play games very much, but I did actually buy this years ago on Xbox 360 called Alien Isolation.
Yeah, yeah, I did have that. I didn't play much of it because, a bit like yourself, I'm not much of a gamer anymore. I mean, I never called myself a gamer. That phrase wasn't really around when I played video games. But I still like video games, but I'm not. I can't seem to give it much attention these days, to be honest. But yeah, I know exactly what game you're talking about, and I didn't get very far in it just because, again, I couldn't devote that much time to it, really. But
The only reason I bring it up is because it's basically a movie that lives in the universe of the '79 film, and they use
that's cool.
so many of the sound effects that I love so much from the first film, and it was really a delight to play because it's kind of like being a part of the first film, and the production design and the sound design were basically of that film, and it was for fans of the first film, it's a really cool game.
Yeah, maybe I think I've still got it actually. I had it for the PS4, which is it's the same game, I'm guessing, isn't it? I don't know. I think it's the exact
Yeah, I would imagine
same thing.
PS4, Xbox 360, it's going to be the
Yeah.
more or less the
Hmm.
same.
I mean, I did have time to play games, but it's just kind of my interest, and my interest didn't lie that much in video games at that time, and it still doesn't really. But that it might be cool because I could hook it up to my projector now. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe you'll have to give that game
Mm.
another go. But in closing, calling or talking about the game, I do think they did a really great job capturing the feel of the '79 movie.
That's cool then, and I hope people who maybe bought the game had never seen the film, it would pique their interest in watching Alien. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. That it would work both ways that way as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
get you interested in the first film.
Yeah. Um, I love it. I was talking to someone actually the other day, someone who's come out of university, a filmmaker, and I was talking to him. He's not done anything too extravagant yet or anything. He's just made a few short films, but you could tell I was talking to him, he showed me a short film he'd made, and it was pretty impressive the way it was lit. And I was just talking to him about he'd never seen Halloween, actually. John Carpenter's Halloween. I said, well, that's like film, that's like the ground floor, I think, for like if you're an independent filmmaker, watch that film, For do you get what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, absolutely. You call yourself an indie filmmaker? You haven't seen Halloween?
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of like the reason you're on a film course without even knowing it, if you get what I mean. Anyway, so I was just talking about films with great atmosphere. I was talking about The Shining, and he said, so, I mean, obviously it's there, but he was just saying, yeah, it's because you're seeing these big rooms and open spaces, and that can create a lot of atmosphere. These kind of like corridors and big open spaces that our minds are used to seeing these places with lots of hustle and bustle around, but because there isn't, it creates great atmosphere. And I thought, oh, that's good. That obviously applies to Alien.
Yeah, that's very true. And what are your thoughts on the Jerry Goldsmith's contribution as far as music wise? Like how cool is the music?
Mm. Oh, it's great. It's just right. Actually, the bit that really hit me is when Dallas is in the air shaft, and he's about to meet his demise, and it kind of like has this kind of. It's the only bit where well, no, it does get very kind of bombastic towards the end, but the music kind of almost like signifies he's going to meet his maker in a minute. Do you know what I mean? Death is looming. It's like this like real big, vroom, it's like. Do you hear what I'm saying? I really noticed it last night.
I very well might know what you're saying. What I love about the score for Alien is a lot of times with Jerry Goldsmith, his stuff, and this is I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this. The composer or an artist is going to have his own sound or look or whatever, but a lot of times when you watch a movie or when I watch a movie, I can listen to the music and go, oh well, that sounds like Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, Alan Silvestri. What's really cool about his music for Alien is it doesn't really sound. I mean, it does here and there, but on the whole, in my opinion, it doesn't really sound like a Jerry Goldsmith score, which is really cool for like. I just think it's cool, like when, I don't know if he did it intentionally, but like when a composer can actually do something where it doesn't even sound like him, I think is really cool, I mean, there's just bits and pieces that might sound like Jerry Goldsmith, but for the most part, it doesn't, which I think is really cool.
Well, it just shows, the characteristic of a master, really. He knows, I think sometimes, everyone wants to bring their A game, but he knew there's enough atmosphere and sound in this film anyway. I don't need to overcook it. So, I mean, sometimes you're not sure what's the music and what's just like, you hear a lot of like rattles and stuff, and it kind of blends into the score almost. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he came in and did his job the best he could without trying to like show off. And make, because there's not really a theme you could hum, is there? I mean, there is a little bit, but there's not like a classic. Oh, there's the Alien music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is if you just bear with me for a few moments. Wah 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 wah.
Yeah, there is. That's kind of like. I think that's more towards the start of the film, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the start of the film, like when they're landing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think Star Wars makes the genius move as well of having a classical score rather than they could have gone more Carpenter-esque, which might have been great, but would probably date a science fiction film. And it works great. Don't get me wrong. Sort of Precinct 13 thing and Halloween, I love it. I love all that sim stuff. But I do like the classicalness to it because it gives it a timeless appeal, the score.
Yeah, very true. It made that your little comment there makes me think of Jerry Goldsmith once again doing Logan's Run and how there's an aspect of at the very beginning of the movie where it's like just the cheesy 70s sounds like
Yeah,
and that's more.
I was praising Alien and Star Wars, and like, why does it look better? Especially Empire and Return of the Jedi. Like, for the most part, why does it look better? But I don't think Logan's run holds up all that well with the effects and everything.
Yeah, Logan's Run is definitely a movie of its time, and it definitely
Yeah,
shows. Yeah.
it does. It really does. So, to be fair, on my objective level, certain things do age. It's not like just because it's old, it's going to be great. There's certain things that age better than others, isn't there? Um, so just to be fair to the modern times, I might look back in, I don't know, 30 years if I'm still kicking around, and think, well, yeah, no, that holds up. That doesn't, who knows? Hindsight, I guess. But as I was saying, what was I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
I'm not sure. Shall we cut and shall I go back and listen to what you were saying?
No, it's fine. There is a lot of there's a lot more. I really want to dig deep into the. I don't want to like open up a can of worms, but there's a lot of subtext to this film. I think whether it could be, but the thing with that is, I'm like, it's there if you want it, and if not, if you said, "Oh, I don't see that," I'd say, "Okay, you're seeing it in a different way." But did you hear what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Is there anything you want to talk
Yeah.
specifically about? I'm assuming.
I mean, you could say I'm full of crap, but this is, like now when we try to get like a movie that's got, a battle of the genders or whatever, and I'm not trying to offend anyone or anything, whatever is your opinion, but maybe there's a slight feminist tone to this with Ripley as the leader, but this is how you do it, in my opinion. It's subtle, and this is my argument for anyone who says you don't like modern films because it's all women. No, I grew up watching Alien and Silence of the Lambs and Nev Campbell in Scream, and what I mean. This is Ripley is just a great character, and I've always, so there's that element to it. But if you want to dig even deeper, this whole element. Like, I've watched documentaries on it, and I don't know how you feel about it, but there's kind of like a hint of male rape going on with a face hugger.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's penetrating Kane, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, what a scary thought to be a man and to be pregnant. I mean, that's kind of terrifying, and that's basically what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, come to think about it, now that you mention it, yeah, it's very ahead of its time, and
Yeah, I mean, he's been violated, really, and there's this whole sense of mother as well. Mother, and I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I picked that up. Mother is controlling everything, and there's that element. I thought, you could tie it into whatever, however you want, and also, I don't know if it's going a little bit far, but like someone said, the caves they're going into, the ship, when they first find all the eggs, it looks like a vagina and stuff.
well, yeah,
But
these things can be and have been, designed purposefully to resemble things like possibly the long Freddy neck head in Nightmare 3, if you're familiar with that. But absolutely, this stuff is oftentimes intentional.
yeah, and I do think it's kind of like there's something in that. There's kind of like there is a feminist undertone to it. Ripley's the hero. She's a survivor. Kane's the one who gets raped and impregnated, and there's always this kind of like mother is saying this and mother is saying that. So I do think there's something in there again, but it's so subtle and it doesn't ever take away. But now a lot of films will just stop dead because they want to make some political agenda point, and it's so in your face and on the nose, it's cringy. But this is, do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, the first two Alien movies are kind of the ones that I really think about, maybe even more so the second film, when I think of, this era we find ourselves in where women are dominating everything. but it's shoved down your throat. I think back to,
Mm.
the mid 80s when Sigourney Weaver was doing that. It was happening back then, but it was not shoved down your throat.
Yeah, there's like a yeah, there's a subtlety to it. She takes charge, but through necessity because she has to.
But they don't stop the movie in either of these first two Alien movies
Yeah,
and say, I'm Ripley, I'm a woman, and I'm in charge.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she's kind of like, is she the most likable character in the first one? I think she is, but she's kind of she's firm and strong, and
Well,
but not. Go on.
she's the only voice of reason when she's like she doesn't
Yeah,
want Kane to come in the ship with that thing on his face.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's you got to remember that's Sigourney Weaver's first ever job, I believe. It's her first ever film, and she's just fantastic in it. I think.
Yeah, she looks really young now if you watch the Alien
Yeah,
now.
she's fantastic in it, and I actually prefer the way she looks with the longer hair than this. Than I think she looks really cool with that flamethrower at the end and everything.
You think she looks better than she does bald?
Yeah, no, I was actually referring to Aliens.
Yeah, I know.
She gets her hair back in Resurrection, though.
Yeah.
But even in Aliens, there's kind of that whole, Newt and Ripley kind of mother-daughter thing going on as well. So, yeah, I just thought there's kind of like hints at that, like kind of just maybe switching the dynamic a little bit. But it's, you know, yeah. So again, I mean, this is how if you've got social commentary, it should be subtext. Like there's a lot of that going on in Nightmare on Elm Street. Kind of like are the kids responsible for their parents' mishaps, and that was kind of related to the Vietnam War and stuff. And are we like inheriting in our? I'm just talking about that's how you do it. It's never like said. It doesn't stop dead like nowadays, where the whole film is just one big patronizing kind of like intervention, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, this movie exists to get these cultural present day thoughts and ideas across.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's like it's subtext for a reason. It's subtle and it's there if you want it, and if not, you can. I mean, like you can just enjoy Alien as a horror film, really. You don't have to look too much into it.
What about that haunting moment? And I don't know if I have this line right, but I think I do. I can't remember. I mean, it's after the alien busts out of his chest, but it's later on. They're sitting around talking about I don't know, maybe the Parker sees it bigger or whatever. But there's that one haunting bit, and it's almost like he says it under his breath, or he says it really quiet, where Ash is like, "Kane's son." Does he say that? Kane's son. And
Oh, really?
yeah, I think
I didn't. I didn't.
that's why I'm not sure if I've got that line correct or not. But I would imagine someone
Wow.
could turn on the subtitles. But I think there's I think it's when Parker's coming back and Dallas is dead, and he's like, it's like a man, it's big, and I think that's when he kind of mumbles Kane's son, and I think he says
Ah,
that. It's really creepy. If that's what he says,
wow.
if that's what he says, that's really creepy. If
Ah,
not, I
I never
misunderstood it.
noticed that. Well, that's cool. I like that. If that is in there, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If that's in there, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's
yeah.
what he says, but if not, oh well. It should have been. If it's
Well, maybe I'll get the subtitles up, see if it says that.
you're always free to do that.
Yeah, and I'd say this is if you just want to kind of like really how it's kind of structured in a way, especially like from the middle to the end, is a slasher film.
Yeah, that's very true. You start with a gaggle of people, and one
Mm.
by one
They're picked up.
they're
I mean,
picked
it
up.
really is a slasher film. I mean, it's a lot more involved than a normal slasher film creates its own world and its own species and how this organism lives, and it's got a lot more to it than that. But you could just look at it as a fancy slasher film in space.
That's true, and this might be a good opportunity to talk about Dan O'Bannon and his contribution. I want to say I can't remember. I don't know how many details you know about the movie, but I want to say he may have. I can't remember if he wrote the book uh, first, or I don't know. I guess I don't want to talk about that if I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, Dan O'Bannon, he at least had something. I think he was the guy behind the majority of the story. The story for this film, and the screenwriter, possibly the majority screenwriter. But I wanted to ask you a question if you knew anything about his former contribution or partnership with John Carpenter on John Carpenter's very first student film
Ah,
by the name of Dark Star, which interestingly enough has a little bit of similarity where they've got. I mean, that was a student film, kind of a goofy thing, but in Dark Star, John Carpenter's first film, they've got this beach ball alien that, and there's a scene, there's several scenes where it's kind of it's a little bit of a I don't know, a precursor to what would end up being with the '79 film Alien that Dan O'Bannon would go on to, I think, probably write the majority of the screenplay on. So yeah, are you familiar? Have you seen Dark? I think it's called Dark Star. Have you seen that John
yeah.
Carpenter movie?
No, I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it because I've seen like John Carpenter Halloween documentaries, and it'll say up to this point he'd done Assault and Precinct 13 and a student film that caught on, Dark Star. So that's what I know of it. But that's interesting, actually. And I think some of the clips, some of the corridors do look a bit alien-y.
Yeah, that's true. I want to say the very small kind of subplot to do with that beach ball is alien, is they picked it up somewhere along the travels as a pet or whatever. So it's a little bit of a precursor to what
Yeah.
would end up
Well,
happening with
but a beach ball.
a beach ball with claws. Yeah.
Well, that's there you go. That's the design they should have gone with this. Ash, how do we kill it? Get a pin. That's cool because then Carpenter went on to do The Thing, which I always think is kind of like the sister or brother film to this, almost kind of like a good companion film.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever thought about that, but that's true. Yeah.
Kind of isolating. Yeah, love it, love this movie. um, I mean, let's talk about Ash a bit because Ian Holm. That's what what's sad is I remember being in a band and we used to talk about movies sometimes, and he said, "Oh, do you know what's funny about Alien? All the cast is still alive," and that was 8 years ago. And obviously, John Hurt's passed away since then, and Ian Holm. So there you go.
Well, damn it.
And well, there you go. But, yeah, Ash is. There's like little hints that there's something a bit weird about him. He does this weird like little run in on the spot moment, like he's jerking, like almost like I don't know, his computer joints are getting a bit rusty or something.
Yeah, I love those little touches like that because the first time you watch it, you're like, "What the fuck is that?" But then later on, like if you watch it again, knowing what he is, it makes sense. It's like, oh, he's gotta loosen up.
Yeah, I mean, when the confrontation happens with him and Ripley, and she shoves him against the wall in the computer room, his reaction is very almost unhuman-like.
Yeah, I find that scene that's kind of like the secondary scene. You know how I said I get nervous and anxious when the chest burster scene's happening. The same thing with that scene because you hit the nail on the head. The reactions they have Ian Holm do are haunting because he really sells the artificial intelligence aspect
Mm.
of it by kind of like, his programming isn't ready for, he's not programmed
Yeah.
for this kind of treatment. And it has this bewildered expression on his face.
Mm. You know exactly the shot I'm talking about when they're in the yellow computer room and she just like shoves him against the wall and he looks, yeah, like he can't compute it almost.
Yep,
Yeah.
does not compute.
Yeah. And then he tries to kill her with a magazine.
When I was a kid, I couldn't tell. You can't really tell how that what's going on there. When I was a kid, I thought he opened up his jumpsuit and pulled out a piece of his innards piping and put that on
Oh,
her mouth. I never knew even until like recently that it was a magazine.
yeah. I was always thought that's a weird way to suffocate someone.
Well, I think even that it is a magazine, it's still kind of stupid. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, roll up a magazine and put it on your mouth. It's really weird. But again, it's kind of
Roll up a magazine which will naturally have a hole going through the middle of it now, where they can breathe through.
yeah. But I think the absurd aspect of that kind of makes sense because this robot is it's a robot. So there's something about it that it's excusable because the robot's
Oh
like
yeah, no, I
going
love it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah,
goofy. Yeah.
yeah, I like it. It's almost like he slipped into panic mode. He doesn't know what to do. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah, like you say, does not compute. So now I'm just going to go on a
Yeah.
rampage. But did you know that? I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me, but that Dan O'Bannon, the guy who wrote the story and the majority of the screenplay, I want to say that he's not really pleased with the Ash aspect. I want to say that the undercover robotic passenger or crew member was something that the producer or someone else kind of made them do. I don't think it was Dan O'Bannon's idea, and I think he never really liked it, which I think is kind of interesting because for me, I don't know if I could even imagine this movie without that aspect because it adds the movie's already but just destroying your senses and just terrifying you, but then to later on in the whatever it is the somewhere in the third act to reveal that not only are we up against this alien but now one of our crew member is something we never thought he was, and I just think it really throws you for a loop, and I love it.
Yeah, I've always liked it. I mean, if you think about it, you could take it out and still have Ash as protecting the alien. It could just be a bit like Burke in the second one. He's just got another motive and he's setting everyone up. He knew about it. It doesn't. It didn't necessarily have to be a robot, a cyborg. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like I say, I can't imagine it any other way.
Yeah. No, I mean, you could almost make that could be the plot of this movie if you want. Like, it could just be about a cyborg gone wrong and they didn't know he was a cyborg. You could make a movie out of that if you want. It's like almost like another movie. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you could take the alien out of it and have this movie about the space, the truckers in
Yeah.
space, and they're terrorized by a crew member that they didn't know
Yeah.
was an alien. Kind of
Yeah.
a play on 2001: A Space Odyssey when Hal
Mm.
goes crazy.
Yeah, and yeah, I hear you. It's never bothered me. I always thought it was cool. I really liked seeing the head with all like the milk coming out of it and all that. And that strange, almost what do you call it? It's got an effect of yes, I can hear you, and the milk coming out of his. One bit that's sinister always sticks with me is how he finishes it with him and goes, "Can't lie to you about your chances. You're still acting like a robot, but you do have my sympathy." And he gives him like this really kind of sinister smirk. Yeah. So yeah, I like that.
Yep. It's just like, oh my God, we're dealing with all this alien, and now the crew member is a robot. And what's so funny about that audio I told you about on the DVD, the raw audio, is you can hear, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy who plays well, the character of shit, I can't, well, just the Yaphet Kotto, or however the hell you, was it Parker, I want to say, that
Yeah.
character. He's like in the movie, after his head is, after he's bashed to shit and his head's sitting there, he's like, he's a robot. Ash is a goddamn robot. And in the raw audio, he's saying it's a droid.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think that's a, isn't droid something that Star Wars kind of coined for to term a robot? I think I don't think
Well, it's funny you say that. I nearly mentioned this film earlier on. We were just talking about influences. You've heard of Silent Running.
oh yeah, that's right.
Now, I think Alien borrows a bit from that, and I actually think that was even before Star Wars. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think it was.
So there's kind of like hints. It's not completely original, but I think there were droids on that, wasn't there?
I can't remember what they called them, drones.
Drones or whatever. Yeah. God knows what that film's about. It's like gardening in space, but what? um, yeah, yeah. Just getting back to Ash. One thing I want to talk about is, this sounds so pretentious to me now, but the camera work in this movie, but the way the camera glides around the characters, especially in this scene where Ash goes nuts. Do you know what scene I'm talking about? He's just throwing Sigourney Weaver around the room. The camera's just gliding around with him. I love all that.
Yeah, and what's so funny, it's handheld. It's probably before Steadicam. You can tell it's handheld,
Yeah.
but the guy who's carrying the camera like backs up, and I think the guy himself bumps into like these wind chimes or whatever that are hanging from the top of a doorway, and they start making noise, and Ash almost like kind of reacts to them, and then like throws her in the direction of the wind chimes or something. Something like
Oh,
that.
cool. I didn't know that. But I mean, it's not just in this scene where the camera does that. There's a lot of scene where it just pans around the room and characters kind of. This film. I mean, like last night when I was watching it, I had such a new appreciation for it. I always knew it was great, but I just kind of thought it was great by default. Yeah, it's one of the greats, yeah. But I just seen it on the big screen and just how visceral and the motion of it, it's just fantastic. What a
Uh,
film.
Yeah, you got no arguments for me about that, absolutely. And I'm glad you were able to do that, project it to a bigger size and kind of
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. Is this the most you think you've enjoyed it so far? It sounds like you really had fun with the
Um,
projection
I
of
know.
it.
To be honest, I think I've been in awe of it before, but I think just seeing it on the screen and I haven't sat down and watched a film in quite a while actually. Just I just have a night to myself and I'm going to watch a film because I've just been so busy over the last year and yeah, I've just been so busy, especially at night time and stuff. So it was just I think combination of getting back into movies, but yeah, I was just immersed in the ambience of the film and just the atmosphere, and it's fantastic.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
No, um, yeah, there's something else I was going to mention. I like how Dallas is listening to classical music, like Beethoven or something. You know, this is supposed to be. What year is this supposed to be in the
God,
future?
do they mention the year? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, but I like that element that
I
people are still listening to music
Yeah, I do
from
as
out.
well because before I saw Alien, I was a big fan of 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
and that movie really, along with the film Amadeus, really kind of made me appreciate classical music. So I appreciated that little aspect as well of
Mm.
him, so far into the future, like, listening to classical music to go just kind of be alone in the shuttle, like the escape shuttle pod craft thing, and just relax. And
Mhm.
yeah, and you can tell he's just pissed off that he's
Mm.
bothered because then he kind of, says, I'll be right there, and kind of turns his head like,
Mhm.
God damn it.
Yeah, I like him. He's such a underrated actor actually. Tom Skerritt. I wish he was in more. He seems to like just pop up in things like B movies and stuff like. or Top Gun and The Dead Zone, Poltergeist 3 and stuff. It was like, and MASH, yeah, it was in MASH, wasn't it? I think he's the leading role in MASH. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or is it him and Donald Sutherland? I think he's top billed.
Yeah, I haven't seen the MASH movie. I only saw it once, and I can't remember. But if you say so,
Yeah. You gotta love a guy with a beard as well. Just he owns that beard.
yeah, there you go.
I mean, that rivals Tom Selleck's mustache. But yeah, I was like, when I was a kid, I was like, "Where's Tom Selleck then? When's he gonna turn up?"
He's in the alien suit.
Yeah. One thing I think I just forgot about it was like, oh, Mother woke them up they hadn't just woken up and then got this distress call. It's all connected from the start. I like that. It was kind of like a detail kind of I either missed or forgotten about a bit.
Yeah, I mean, one could obviously say there's a little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey, with Mother kind of, doing the role of Hal.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, did they call it Mother in 2001? No, but it's Hal, of course, isn't it?
It's Hal, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I think's kind of creepy about Mother in Alien, I want to say there's no speech. Is it just words that come out on a screen? Like we don't hear Mother.
Oh, you do.
You
Actually. Oh, I'm talking about you have 5 minutes till detonation.
Well, is that's that? Oh, okay. I guess technically that is kind of the voice of Mother.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
Yeah. You bitch.
I mean, how creepy is that scene? Where Ripley's going in that computer room full of lights, asking for questions, and I think it's much better to they could have easily had that conversation or had that sequence be like a vocal sequence where she's talking and the computer's talking.
Hawkins type voice or something, yeah.
Yeah, but it's so creepy how that exchange of her basically being said all the crew are expendable, just being on a computer screen in words.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it so much more cold than if a voice said it. It's like it's so matter of fact, like, oh my God, the creature is priority, crew expendable. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and then it just doesn't she pull away and then Ash is there? That's creepy as well.
Yeah, there's a reason for this, or whatever he says.
Yeah, there's an explanation for this,
I don't want to hear your explanation.
Maybe she should have just listened and gone, look, I had no idea about this. She's like, she didn't tell me that.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, there's so much more I could talk about. I mean, if I got a nitpick, right, I've been like really praising this film, and it doesn't bother me in the slightest. It's just, again, sometimes I just see it through the eyes of a modern audience. Some of the external shots out of space of the ship looks a bit modelly. That's the only nit, and that doesn't bother me. That's charming to me, but that's the only slightly nitpick I could come up with.
Yeah, I hear you, but I agree with you. Like, that's a part of the 70s charm. It seems to me there's a shot where the main, craft is extending off the main cargo area, and it's almost like the star field looks like it's, I want to say it's like left blank for the area that like it's going to expand into, or, there's definitely sloppy visual things going on in the movie. But like
a little bit.
Yeah, but like you say, I agree about the charm aspect. I didn't want to bring it up, and I almost hesitate to do it. But since you brought up, I don't know if now you're gonna want to know, but I don't want to ruin the movie for you. But a visual screw up that is huge, and he didn't even fix it on the 2003 director's cut. Is right after they bash heads or they bash Ash's head off, and Veronica Cartwright zapping him in the back with the cattle prod. If you look at that shot where it's basically the headless robotic special effect torso that they used for that shot, that the cameraman pans too far down and you can see that there's nothing below like the stomach or the torso area, and it's just like you see the cables coming out of the bottom.
Oh, I never noticed that.
I don't want to ruin the whole movie.
Movie ruined.
Oh shit.
Yeah. This is a 1 out of 10 movie now.
1 out of 10, okay.
Yeah, this is worse than Alien Resurrection.
Yeah, right.
No, I will notice it now.
Oh shit, sorry.
I'm going to watch it and I'm like, fucking Nate. Ruined it.
We had to do that discussion.
Yeah. You know what, though? You look back at things weren't easy to see twice back then. Probably a Ridley Scott thing. People won't notice that. They'll see it at the cinema. They'll be that involved. They won't notice it. I don't think these films probably were designed to be watched. Like, I don't think VHS was around in 1979, was it? Or it was very new.
Yeah, it was very new.
Do you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of that was just kind of like, they won't notice.
Oh,
I didn't notice.
Absolutely, but I was shocked that he didn't. They could have zoomed in on the frame and fixed it in the 2003 director's cut. It's like no one even knows it's there. It's just really weird to me.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I guess we talked just before we start recording, like, Don't Go Into the Woods. I mean, that's got like, to me, that's like incompetently made to a point where it turns me off.
To a point where it's genius.
Okay. All right.
We'll agree to disagree.
No, yeah, that's fine. I think you can hear what I'm saying though with that show. Like,
oh, absolutely. But that for me, that's a case where the incompetence is the magic. But yeah. I hear you.
No, I mean, I like incompetence. I mean, there's movies I love which you can tell it's clunky. Don't get me wrong, but to a point, you know what I mean. But yeah, each their own. Obviously, it's really random how we've got talking. Don't Go Into the Woods from Alien. Oh, 2 slasher films. There you go. Yeah, there's a shot. I don't like doing this too much, like nitpicking, but it's just like being a dick now. But when the alien is caught on the what would you call it, like harpoon gun, is like hanging off the escape pod ship.
Oh yeah.
Just before she blasts him, and he's kind of like bouncing off the ship a little bit. It kind of just looks like a guy in a suit a bit.
Yeah, I'd agree that they really did a genius job at showing it very little in the dark throughout the whole movie, and I guess. Yeah, I never really thought of it necessarily, but you're right. The way in which you get to see the alien at the end there dangling around is maybe a little too much of a reveal. But we're just since we spent an hour and a half praising it, we can nitpick a little.
I mean, this is the difference between modern films. Like, I can critique whole freaking scenes and a whole hour of a film, saying what's wrong with it, and we're talking old movies. If you really want to nitpick, we're talking about a 1 second shot. Do you know what I mean? It's like nothing. Yeah,
and actually that scene reminded me of, we never really talked about it, but it's kind of interesting, the whole detail of like Ripley's cat being on the ship as well, and the cat playing a kind of a more or less little bit of a sizable part every now and then, and kind of I thought it was so haunting that the cat. I want to say the cat saw the Harry Dean Stanton character be killed, and you just that haunting ass shot of the cat just looking up.
So glad you brought that up. Do you know how they got the reaction off the cat?
Well, I would imagine they just showed it some other cat.
No, they brought in a German Shepherd.
Oh God, that would make that reaction out of me too.
Yeah. I think it was a German Shepherd or a Rottweiler.
Oh,
That's how you
Jesus.
get that.
Yeah,
So I thought that was cool.
absolutely.
Um,
But
Also, great! I'm so glad you brought that up because I've listened to Ridley Scott's commentary. Have you?
yeah, I think back in the day I have.
Yeah, and there's great, just little camera tricks or simple little things to create effects. Like when John Hurt first finds the egg and you see movement inside, that's just someone around the other side with yellow, like washing up gloves. Just moving that, and you can actually see it when you once you know that. But that's just someone with a pair of gloves on.
Gee, thanks for ruining it.
And you know, a lot of the shots when they look like astronauts when they go to investigate. So Veronica Cartwright, Tom Skerritt, and John Hurt. A lot of those long, big shots, far away shots, is children dressed as them, so they look small.
Yeah, I knew that. What a great idea, frickin' A.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, because even, what that would get you like maybe 2 to 3 feet more of bigness on your set. What a genius idea.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, stuff like that, I don't think they do as much now. It's just like, well, just click on that icon on the computer, we'll fix that later.
Yeah, well, we'll shoot the actors in a green room and yeah, click on the icon.
Just follow this tennis ball. It's terrible, really. I mean, it really does. I mean, I can't stress enough how much this movie puts every trailer I saw tonight to shame. I mean, not just a little bit, by a long way.
No, that's completely understandable. I also wanted to mention, I don't know, this will be interesting to see if you've ever noticed it, but I want to say in regards to the camera trickery, like at the, when the John Hurt character is over by the egg and he's examining it, I want to say that there's a shot that's upside down where it looks like the drips are going upwards. Did you never notice that?
Oh, that's cool. No, I didn't notice that, but I do notice it's kind of very wet and there's a lot of moisture on it. Yeah, that's cool.
So you can do so much with just simple camera trickery and apparently rubber gloves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the second film. James Cameron is very good at all that, or he was.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about it a bit. Like, I thought it'd be cool to do a comparison from Ridley Scott and James Cameron, if that's all right in a bit.
Yeah, you're free to do whatever.
James Cameron's really gone down in my. Just as I've got a bit older, I'm warming to Ridley Scott a lot more. Just as an example of two directors. Even though James Cameron made Terminator, which is one of my favourite films ever. Anyway, what was I saying? I've lost my train of thought now. God damn it.
Shall I stop it and go back and listen to it?
No, it's all right. I did want to talk about something. It's not a negative, but it's kind of like a lot of the like horror cliches. Was it bugging me or not? I feel so guilty for saying anything bad against this film. But the characters do a lot of Parker. All right, I'll go and get the generators warmed up. He's like, Ash, go with him. No, I'll go by myself. There's a lot of that going on. I was like, what?
Well, so what are you questioning? Like, why would you want to go by yourself when there's this?
Yeah, it's like go and get the cat, man. They say to Harry Dean Stanton, go and get him. It's like, well, I think you should all really be sticking together as much as possible.
Oh yeah, see that scene I can understand it more than the Parker scene. Like the Parker just hates Ash, so he doesn't want him around.
Oh,
but I can I can totally understand what you mean with the cat. So for anyone who doesn't know, what I'm sure everyone listening does know, but after they're looking for the alien, and then they're using this motion detector, and they think it's the alien, but it turns out to be Ripley's cat, and it runs away. And they're like, well, now we got to go catch it, otherwise we'll just pick it up on the motion detector again. So then they tell Harry Dean Stanton to go get it, and all of a sudden, like everyone forgets that there's a deadly alien out there,
Yeah.
and he just goes
It's a bit
out.
like that at the end. It's like, okay, Ripley, you go off on your own and prepare stuff, and me and what's the other woman's name? Veronica Carter. I can't remember her character's name.
Yeah, we'll just call her Veronica. I can't remember right now.
Yeah, they seem to split off a lot, and it's like I think you should all be sticking together as much as possible. But anyway, that's not really a nitpick. It's just I think we've seen that so much in horror films where characters do slightly stupid things. But
You got it.
I guess they're trying to be as well. Also, though, I will say actually, in defence of the Harry Dean Stanton bit, at that point they think it's tiny. They think the alien's just a small little thing.
Oh, that's a good point. Very true. Okay.
So that does actually give that scene that actually kind of redeems that issue.
Yeah, good catch there. Very true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, so basically, and also maybe we've found our way around it. But it's not a problem because at the end they are kind of like they wanted to get off the ship, so it'd be quicker for Ripley to go and do her thing and them to go and prepare what they need to prepare to get off the ship. So I guess it makes sense.
Well, there you go. Nitpicks are eliminated.
The nitpicks. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So I do like it how Lambert. That's her name, Lambert. She's the one wanting to get off on the escape pod. And Ripley's like, it won't take four, and I think they're all like glad when Ash is killed off. It's like, right, we'll go then. We can go now.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, shit. Even before it's before Ash is dead. Didn't someone say we'll draw? Didn't Lambert says we'll draw straws or something.
Yeah. Well, what if it turns out to be you who has to stay behind?
Yeah, then you're not so keen on it, probably.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say they watch this film like, I cannot understand Ripley at the end running around trying to find the cat, and she's so bothered about saving the cat. I'm like, I get it. I'm an animal lover. I do get it. I get it. I think I'd do that.
Yeah, I do think that obviously, like you say, non-animal lovers aren't going to understand it, but I think that that's another really kind of an interesting addition to the movie, and something I forgot about actually when I brought up the cat. It does play a very integral part at the end of the movie when she can't find the cat, and she set off the self-destruct, and she even tries to go and like turn it back off so she'd have more time to find the cat, and she can't turn it off, and you've got higher stakes, and yeah, the cat does come into play pretty heavily at the end.
Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, just thinking about my dog who passed away, God bless him, last year, I would have done that. I'd have gone back for him. Like, because I think it's interesting. She seems to care about the cat more than anyone on the ship.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm sorry to hear that. I think that's the first time I heard about your dog. So condolences,
Yeah.
Will.
Oh, thank you. He was getting on. It was his time, but it does. Sometimes films can trigger emotions in you, and you think, yeah, I'd do that, or it makes you think of people. Yeah, I mean, I like it how in the second film she's going back for what is now her new daughter, and the first one is the cat she's going to save.
Yeah, that is an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah. What else was I going to say? It's funny, isn't it, how I said there was flaws, and now like going towards it, it's like, no, actually, when you think about it, it all makes sense. It's not like all of a sudden she's bothered about the cat. No, she's got affection for this cat all the way through the film. So it's not like, well, where did that come from? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true. The cat was a part of the movie before. I'm trying to think, when does the cat even? I wonder when we first see the cat. I can't even remember. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, what? Why would they have a cat on board though? You wouldn't think that would be allowed, just for like
Well, yeah.
diseases and
I guess it's
or whatever.
well, it's Ripley's, and I guess they let her bring it with. Yeah.
Fair enough. Um, Maybe it's good for getting rid of space rats,
Yeah, space mice. There you go.
space mice. Yeah, there was actually. I remember Ridley Scott saying in the commentary that there was going to be. I don't know if there's a few scenes shot, but there was supposed to be like a suggested kind of romance between Ripley and Dallas, but they kind of just got rid of that. Maybe you can see it. There's a little bit of tension there. Like they seem to kind of like click the most a little bit, but not massively.
Yeah, you can kind of almost see a little bit of that. I think in the scene where he's like, "I just run the ship," or whatever. Or when is that standard procedure? Standard
Yeah,
procedure is to do what the hell they tell you to do.
yeah, because she doesn't talk to him like he's the captain. They talk like almost like a couple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's not really there, is it? You know.
Maybe
Deleted.
just
Go on.
a
Sorry.
just a hint of it is there.
Yeah, yeah. There's this deleted scene. I bet you've seen it. I probably think it's in the director's cut where she finds Dallas like pinned up on the wall, like glued up, and so I think he's saying, "Kill me."
Yeah, I think it is in the '03 director's cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
the famous scene where she discovers the bodies being, the other ones are dead and he's the only one that's
Mm.
alive, I think, being whatever, put into the eggs or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of surprises me that they got rid of that because that kind of like explains a lot more like what the alien's about, and it's a cool scene. Looks good, but Ridley Scott just said it just slowed the pace down a bit.
Yeah,
So it was like, okay, fair enough.
I agree with that because in the '03 version where it's in there, the movie kind of does stop for that scene, and when it's kind of got the theatrical cut, when it doesn't have that scene in, has this really just straightforward forward momentum of her just wanting to get off the ship. So I can understand why it was cut in the original version.
Mm. Another thing I wanted to say was you really get like a sense. Sometimes films feel like they're trying to use a big space, but you can tell it was just filmed in a small space from different angles to make it look bigger. When she's running about on the ship, trying to get off, and she's panicked, the time's running out, it's going to explode. You get a real sense that this ship is huge, and all the corridors feel big, and it's really cool. You're running around that ship with her. The way the camera's following her, it's really cool.
Well, yeah. How about that scene with Harry Dean Stanton in that huge frickin'? I mean, it's actually like
Oh yeah,
the set must have been huge, where it's like
yeah.
that dark area, and I didn't really know what it was until I like listened to a commentary. But that one thing that's like dripping water is one of the landing gear feet, kind of folded up and hanging there.
Ah, okay, that's
So
interesting. Yeah,
that's so like the maybe the it being out on the surface of the planet and the whatever, it's all it's condensating and dripping now that it's maybe more of a warm temperature. But I never understood like why all that stuff's dripping and stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, that
Can I
that
ask a question? Why would they have a bomb on board for self destruct?
oh, I don't. It's not a bomb. It's just turning off the coolant or whatever, to once you turn off the cooling system, it's gonna explode. Yeah, why is there always self-destruct in spaceships and space movies?
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
question. I guess if you just had it with your crew and
yeah, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, fair enough. Um, but yeah, I mean, just another thing. I think it's on purpose. The set designs. It's always like certain scenes, the way it's filmed. It's like is the alien that
I like the fact that you don't see that much of the aliens, but its presence is felt throughout. You know, they're just looking for it around the ship. Is it down that corridor, and a lot of dark corridors, and is it there? You know, it plays with your imagination a bit.
Oh my God, yeah, going back to that scene of Dallas and going through them corridors and the
Oh,
music
fantastic.
and so scary, like, oh my
Hmm.
God.
Yeah, I mean, when Dallas meets his demise, and you get that really like jump scare scene of the alien, almost like trying to give him a hug.
Yeah, come here, give us a kiss.
He's just misunderstood this alien. He wants some love.
Yeah, he just wants to, penetrate people and give them hugs.
Yeah, I think they should have just tried to coexist with it. It's like, yeah, there's an alien on board. If you see it, just ignore it. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, like, what would I do if I was like in Ripley's position? What would you do? I think I'd just try and, I don't know, be armed and try and avoid it for as long as possible until it comes. I don't know, let it starve to death or something.
Yeah, it occurred to me, maybe even just, close off certain corridors and just try to go back into whatever stasis until you get to Earth. But I mean, you never know if it's going to screw something up or while you're
Yeah.
asleep or come get you. So that I probably wouldn't be able to sleep.
Well, I think that's what's genius about this film is like, where is the alien? And it just could be anywhere, and it's it's creepy. I love all the escape, the escape scene towards the end, because that's almost like a nightmare, very nightmarish. I've had nightmares like that. It's like time's running out. You've got to get somewhere, you can't quite get there, and this is going wrong. I've got to go back to this, and it's intense, and it feels really stressful. She looks stressed, and I get it,
Yeah, absolutely. And I just thinking about the end, I may have, if I can do a brief nitpick, we'll see what you think. I just thought of
Cool.
another one, which might be the biggest one, the explosion of the.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I had to say it.
No, well, Ridley Scott says, "Oh, that looks a bit dodgy."
Yeah,
He says, "Yeah, it's a little bit dodgy, but it's all right. It'll do."
I think
On the commentary.
the sound is really good though.
I mean, they could have just not shown the explosion. You could just hear it and the ship light up. How you do? You know what I mean? Just from her perspective, you could have just done it that way. But whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I'm surprised he didn't. I almost wouldn't have minded if he fixed it on the '03 director's cut. I don't think he did, but that's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I like how. So we get the little jump scare at the end where it's got on the ship with her, which is it's kind of like almost funny in a way. It's like if you just like stop and think about it, it's like holy shit, they just blew the whole ship up and it's got on the ship with her. It's quite funny, really.
Yeah, and who knows if that means it's just so intellectually superior. It knew where to go.
I was thinking that just like does the alien know that the ship's going to blow up? But I don't think it does. I don't think it's that smart. I just think it's just found I'll crawl in here. You know what I mean? I don't think it's. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, well, you know how his head blends into the scenery of the inside of the shuttle. Maybe he thought he was gonna go, nestle up with more aliens.
Could be. I mean, it's a smart creature, but it's still a dumb animal in a way. I always think of it still as like. Do you get what I mean? It's still a wild animal. It's not. It's not like E.T.
Well, you're sounding alienist right now.
Oh, sorry. I identify as an alien, so it's all right.
Oh, okay. That's okay then.
No, I'm just saying it's still kind of feral and primal. It's not got like. Do you get what I mean? I don't think it can understand the computer going. Oh, it's thinking I better get off the ship and stay quiet until she gets away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the voice is saying. Yeah, the voice is saying a countdown. I better get in the shuttle and go with her. Yeah.
I think I think it just crawled into that hole and just. It almost looks a bit dazed at that point. It's like it doesn't quite know. It's almost like it's drunk. Doesn't know what to do with itself.
Yeah, I always figured the shock of being sprayed out by whatever. It's also kind of funny how she's got buttons for different jet sprays in different areas.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Why is that in there?
Well, this is in case there's an alien hiding over there. We put jet
Yeah.
sprays over there, and luckily the alien hid right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. There's a lot of kind of like people thought, there was a complaint at the time from feminists at the time. That's when they didn't have Twitter. But they were saying, it's been a great feminist move, and then, they had to ruin it by sexualizing Ripley at the end, when she gets undressed and all that. I was like, oh, come on. I don't buy into that, really. Well, maybe it is a little bit, but, men can be sexualized in movies a lot. I mean, freaking hell. Charlton Heston and all of his manly films and all that, with chest out, and I don't know.
I look at it more as not sexualizing, but she's becoming like when she's changing into that, or when she's kind of just in the all scantily clad to go to bed. It's not sexual to me. It's like she's vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean the film starts off that way with everyone nearly nude. So I didn't really think of it in that way.
No, it's just people trying to make something of nothing.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing I remember from Ridley Scott's commentary is that he wanted everyone to be bollock naked when they got out of bed at the start. Did you know that?
No, I don't think I did, but I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, that would have been kind of cool. Not for a sexual way, but just maybe a scientific space, space scientific way. Yeah, I can remember when I first saw the movie at the age of 11. I thought that when John Hurt sat up and was doing all that weird kind of just sitting there and different cameras, I thought like an alien was gonna pop out of his neck.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's yeah, I kind of get it though. Like it was like when a fight with the studio. It's like, no, I think they should. I was like, well, we can't do that. We can't show a film like that where everyone's showing dick and penis, and in the opening shot. I kind of get it though. If you think, well, let's scientifically, it would be awkward if Phil woke up and they were naked.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, it might have been.
It's fine. They'd probably get cold if they didn't have clothes on.
Yeah, there you go.
One thing that I was like, oh, have I just noticed something amazing? But it didn't turn out to be, because I was like, John Hurt's the first person to wake up, and I thought, oh, how cool would it be if Dallas is next? And then they all wake up in the order they die, but they don't.
Oh shit, that would have been fun.
Yeah, I was like, have I just noticed something that's never been noticed? But they don't. I think it's like Lambert's the second one to wake up.
Damn it.
Because I thought, this could be like a big metaphor for birth and death, and you know what I mean?
Yep. Will's getting deep on us.
Getting deep. How deep is your love? Yeah, it's. I was reading. I always like to go on Wikipedia. I know it's kind of, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, but at the time, it got mixed reviews, which is interesting. Probably one of those cases where it's just way ahead of its time. People just can't quite digest it at first,
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I would imagine people were appalled at the chest burster scene.
Yeah, but then it says later reassessment, and through the years it's been known as one of the greatest films ever. It's got critical acclaim. I mean, it was a massive hit, wasn't it? There's no doubt about it. It's not like The Thing where it was a flop. I think The Thing was a flop, wasn't it?
Yeah, initial release, it's a bummer.
Or Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Yep.
Another classic. No, it's not like, this film caught on eventually. I think it caught on from the start. It's just probably more mainstream critics came round to it.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I find it interesting how I saw this first, and then I watched Aliens probably a week after or something, and then probably for a while I was like, yeah, there is an exception to the rule. There is a sequel that's better than the original Aliens, and it's funny now as I've got older, I've warmed more to Alien and would say it's. I wouldn't like to say it's far superior because Aliens is great in its own way, but I think this is definitely the more superior, masterful piece of film.
Yeah, for me, Aliens is more like something a young kid or teenager would gravitate towards. In the first film, Alien is more
Yeah,
something an adult would gravitate towards. So like
yeah,
the same subject matter for two different mindsets.
yeah. I mean, hats off though for doing something different with it though. You know, it's not just Alien 2 and it's another crew or something and the same thing happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Alien 2.
you know, Electric Boogaloo.
There you go.
Um,
I can remember, before when all there was the first two movies in the late 80s. My
wow.
my buddies and I were kind of like, if they made another one, what are they going to call it? Like Alien
Yeah,
2
Alien.
or Aliens 2.
Yeah,
So we couldn't
more aliens.
yeah, yeah, or like yeah, Aliens is.
Yeah,
We never could figure it out, and of course, we'd get the answer in
yeah.
'92, and it kind of makes no sense. Alien 3, it's like, well, where's Alien 2? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can get into a lot of that, can't you? Rambo is the same as like weird titles and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that Alien is I think it's a masterpiece, and I think Aliens is a great action thriller, right? And I wish that was it, to be honest. I think it's a nice end, the way they wrap it up. Like she gets a bit of resolve in her life, like she's found a new daughter or whatever, and there's a little bit of a happy ending there, you know. Um, and the problem I think for Alien Three is a lot of people say, "Oh well, David Fincher was controlled by the studio; they stepped in and messed it up." I think initially, problem is there's nowhere to go with the story. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, just in a perfect world, Alien and Aliens would be
Yeah,
all there existed. It's a pretty nice, happy ending.
yeah, and it makes sense though that everything in that sequel, yeah, she probably okay. Well, the next step was she probably get picked up, she'll be found, and yeah, she's going to tell people about these aliens, and there's more of them. So yeah, it makes sense. That's kind of like the natural, organic sequel. Um, Everything kind of like yeah, that makes sense. It's bigger. There's more. It's more explosions and stuff. I find James Cameron. I've got a gripe with him as we're getting older. He's like Ridley Scott's a subtle director. You know, he's all about ambience and atmosphere. I don't think James Cameron is a subtle director. Everything's just kind of got to be massive and huge. And do you get what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that's for darn sure. That's what I mean when I said earlier, that the first two films are from, a mature standpoint and a less mature standpoint.
Yeah, and it's meat headed, isn't it? The characters are meat headed in it. I find it's kind of like it's a great film. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not got quite the. I don't know. I mean, James Cameron. I still say the best film he ever did was Terminator. I think if that's more of a subtle film, but he just annoys me that everything has to be is like the best thing ever. Like Avatar 2, it's got to be the biggest film ever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very understandable, and it's too bad. Ever since Titanic, I mean, well, even before that, though, I mean, he was already like everything's got to be. Yeah, it's like he's got this compulsion to just push himself.
Yeah, he's a great. I think he's a great storyteller. I don't think he's the most sophisticated director in the world. You know. That's
Yeah,
all I'll say. I think he's got a lot of technical. I think he's a genius. Don't get me wrong. His attention to detail, but he's not got the Ridley Scott kind of almost maturity. I think
yeah, I can get on board with that.
Can't believe I'm slagging him off, but I wouldn't even say he's on par with Spielberg because I think Spielberg's a subtle director when he wants to be.
Yeah, unfortunately, they've all kind of come under the fall victim to the old. Just I don't know. Even Spielberg did like that motion capture movie back in I can't remember what it was
Oh
called.
God.
Tintin, I want to say, or something like
Oh
that.
right, I thought you were still. Sorry, I got confused with Ready Player One.
Well, yeah, that's a a CGI mind fucker. I mean, just like so much going on, it'll give you an aneurysm as well. But yeah, it's like they all fall prey to the modern day. What the hell's going on? Everyone's making everyone who was formerly a good filmmaker in the real world has succumbed to just CG crap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at Titanic, I mean, it's a monumental achievement what he did, the attention to detail. But if you actually listen to some of the dialogue with the characters, it's pretty standard stuff. Where it's not the most sophisticated. It's not like Alien, where it's really sophisticated dialogue. And do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's why Titanic did so well because, like you say, the dialogue is really kind of really infantile and well, I
Yeah.
guess a lot of I think your average viewer is infantile minded as well, so maybe that's one of the reasons why it
Well,
did so well.
well, I'm not trying to be snobby and say, I know what's a good film and what's not, but just comparison to something like this, or just even early James Cameron Terminator. I think Terminator is a really tight script. I think personally, I think that's the most sophisticated thing he's ever done. Um, yeah. What was I going to say? But yeah, I mean, like Avatar, I think that's a good, like juvenile, infantile. I just found that, like the end, it just turned stupid action film.
Yep, and you're gonna get what is it, three or four more, whether you want them or not.
Yeah, yeah. It just seems like it just feels like he spends so much time planning his next project, and the scope of it, and the new technology he's pushing forward. He kind of it almost falls. It kind of like becomes a little bit out of touch. I find James Cameron.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, not too sure he's really done anything worth much after T2, honestly. Like, I mean, I love True Lies for what it is, but I mean that's just a kind of a mindless
Yeah,
Schwarzenegger vehicle.
that's probably the most unique film in his filmography because it's a film which it's like Terminator. He's pushing the boundaries. He's trying to do the best thing ever. Or like Terminator 2, The Abyss. It's like new groundbreaking. And True Lies is more of just an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree. It's kind of like, let's just do an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah, yeah, fair play. I mean, he hasn't actually made that many movies when you think about it,
That's actually true. Yeah.
because he takes that much. I really got it in for James Cameron for some reason today.
You really do. What did he ever do to you except make
Well,
Titanic?
he left me for Linda Hamilton. That's what he did.
Oh no.
I wanted his money.
Okay.
Slagging off Linda Hamilton now. Now, James Cameron, if you're listening to this, I do think you're a genius, and I think your early films were great. I do, I really do. But I don't like Avatar. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
Sorry. Hey, Ridley Scott's not without criticism either. He's made some. I don't like The Martian. Never didn't like it.
Yeah, it's too bad that so many greats seem to become not so great as their career continues on. It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, he did. The last thing I've really liked by Ridley Scott is film fairly recent, All the Money in the World. Did you see that?
I have not.
Oh, it's a good film. I recommend it. It's
Okay.
good. He made that after The Martian, and Martian really annoyed me because I just thought it was like a crap version of Apollo 13. Um, I don't know. That film really annoyed me. Matt Damon's smugness in it just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm not a big Matt Damon fan.
Yeah, again, I don't mind him when he's in the right role. I don't think he's the best actor ever. I like him, but I don't, just in that film, you know. Yes, I always feel bad when I dislike people. I was like, who am I to say? But you know, I'm just expressing how I feel at this moment. You know, talk to me in 10 years, I might feel differently.
All right. Shall it be the same day in 10 years, or does it any
Yeah, do
day?
you still hate James Cameron, Will? I'll say, well, he's been dead for 2 years. Can't really. No, I'm sure he'll live a long life.
Yeah, we
I just,
we can hope.
I wish he would just get off this Avatar train and do something good. I mean, freaking hell, why didn't he grab the reins of Alien? You know, he could have done something good with it again, or Terminator, instead of, you know.
Yeah, it's too bad that he basically wasted a decade of his life just
Yeah,
prepping these avatars. It's like holy
yeah.
shit.
I mean that's our opinion. I mean, so I know some people who love Avatar, and that's fine. I don't personally. I don't see it. I don't get it. It doesn't visually. It just looks synthetic. The character, the way the cameras move with the character is freaking weird. It looks weird to me. It just doesn't look right. Um, I don't like it. I cannot get past. I'm looking at a computer generated image. I just can't get past it.
Well, that's because you're looking at a computer generated image.
You know, even when I see old movies and you see, well, that's obviously rubber or that's a prop, but it's in shot. It's there. It's lit. You know, it's lit and it's blended in or it's. You know what I mean?
Well, like we were talking about before, some of the exterior shots look like model, but I mean, it's like the model shots have some kind of quality. Maybe it's
Weight.
yeah. Well,
They have weight.
it's got weight. It's got physical realness. It's something. And
Mm.
if something's a little phony looking, we call it. It's kind of it's charm or whatever. Like CG.
Mm.
And in my opinion, and you probably agree, I mean, like if it looks like crap, I never say, well, it's the charm of the CG that it looks like crap. I mean, that never occurs to me at all to say that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, oh God, I'm just so livid with. I mean, I admire James Cameron in a way, because I think he's not just making a film for the sake of it. You can tell that he's not just a director for hire after the big bucks. I mean, maybe he is after the big bucks, but he's trying to push the envelope. But I just feel like he's channeling it in the wrong way. I feel. So there you go. But again, people who love him and love Avatar, more power to you. I'm not saying he's not a genius and stuff, because I really do think he is. I think he's like one of the best directors of the 20th century or whatever. But yeah, I just think you could say, look at it like a very on the fence. James Cameron couldn't have made Alien, and Ridley Scott couldn't have made Aliens. You could look at it that way. Two different beasts. There you go.
There you go.
I'm feeling guilty now.
Well, too bad you've said it. It's gonna be in it.
That's it. Here's a question, just a little bit off topic: Spielberg or Cameron, if you had to?
But the thing is, it depends on what era. Like what era Spielberg or
But
Cameron.
just on a whole, if you had, like if you had to.
I mean, I guess my answer to that would be each of them have their great years. So I mean, maybe a tie,
Yeah.
honestly, because
Okay.
I'd say the early years for both of them. So maybe a
Well,
tie.
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to go to Spielberg, just because I think there's he made Jaws. There you go. And, probably he's done a lot more, so there's a lot more variety of film.
Yeah, he's got that going for him. That's true.
It's kind of frustrating, isn't it? It's like, God, we know you're like, we know you're a genius. This applies to both of them, but freaking hell, you can do so much better than this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I guess my answer to that was, well, at least they have done better than it, and at one point, and we
Yeah.
can still enjoy that shit. It's weird how everything seems to be a decline as time goes on. It's just weird. You'd think that people would get better at making stuff than not worse, but
Well, I think they do in a way, but that's kind of the downfall. They get more kind of competent and more professional looking, but they lose that edge, that kind of the hunger to make a great. Do you get what I mean? They lose that passion for early filmmaking. I think that's what it is.
yeah, if you've got limitations, then you're all passionate to figure out how you can do it, and if you can do anything at all, then you're like, well, what's the point of doing anything then?
Yeah, and you got to remember, when Spielberg's making Jaws, he wasn't a rich man, and James Cameron wasn't he still a lorry driver when he was making Terminator? So they're putting their heart and soul into it, But now it's like Spielberg's worth like what, $4 billion? He thinks, well, if this film tanks, do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's no skin off my back.
Yeah. So, I still think Spielberg has made one or two interesting. I like Bridge of Spies, which came out not that long ago. I thought that was pretty good. Nothing amazing, but I thought it was good. I didn't like Ready Player One. Yeah, so there you go. And James Cameron, his best two films, I think, are Aliens and Terminator 2. Some great stuff there, And like say Ridley Scott, are you a big fan of Blade Runner?
Oh yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, I think I like Alien more than Blade Runner because maybe it has something to do with just discovering it at a younger age. But
Yeah.
I definitely love Blade Runner, and it's too bad that he kind of gave up on science fiction after that. Because I think in the late '70s, early '80s, like Ridley Scott was like just the shit, the king shit. I should try to say this without saying shit, but just the king of science fiction because wow, just visually and
Absolutely. I think Blade Runner kind of gives you it's a different flavor, but it gives you the same sense of awe and scope and like cinematic beauty.
yeah, that's achieved in Alien. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. And again, it's like I think Blade Runner it's a mature film. It takes multiple viewings to kind of appreciate it a bit. It's somber and it's more atmospheric. It's not really because you put it on Blade Runner sounds kind of like an action film, and it's not really.
No, not at all. I don't even. Well, yeah, science fiction would be the first category. I'd say yes, like science fiction drama.
Yeah, with a little bit of action, but not. It's more of an ideas kind of film,
Yeah, I'd say so.
And he did. I remember talking. I know you hate this film, and I understand why. And I don't think it's a very well written film, and the acting's bad. The story isn't great, but I think Legend is a beautiful looking film.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see how people would think that. Yeah, I'm just not a big fairies and pixies kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but I just think some of the sets in that is just like I love just looking at that film. Not so much. I think Tom Cruise isn't very good in it, but it's a flawed film, definitely. But I think visually and like you can see it's Ridley Scott. What else did he do? Gladiator, which I don't mind Gladiator.
He did some movie. I think it was the earlier mid '90s. It was some epic. It was something or other. Some year, Conquest of Paradise. It was like
Okay.
1492. I can't remember what the hell the year
Oh,
was, but yeah, it was quite the epic.
yeah. Well, actually, one thing I thought about to mention was I'm surprised there's not been a remake yet of Aliens. Can you imagine how awful that would be?
Of which one? The first film?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for gosh darn sure.
Can you imagine just CGI shit, CGI this, CGI alien? It'd be horrendous.
CGI, yeah, face hugger.
Yeah, and just let's get to the alien in the first 15 minutes because the audience is too stupid to sit still. They went, you know what I mean? I feel like that's the way we're treated now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do.
It's the same with music though. Like being a musician, you listen to music in the '60s. They evolved to start using jazz chords and complex stuff. I'm not saying that's necessarily better, but there was like a development there, and we've gone back now to strip it to 3-4 chords because that's what people are familiar with. Don't you know? That's what sells, and it's just a shame that I don't know, it's just dumbed down for the Twitter generation.
You got that right. And now, I don't know, I'd say majority of what people listen to doesn't even involve instruments. I mean, it's all electronic music or sounds. I don't know if you can call it music.
Yeah, just kind of midified, programmed loops and stuff, which is, again, it's got its place, don't get me wrong. It's just, I feel like we've lost our sense of craft and I don't know. It's just a shame. But there you go.
That's for gosh darn sure.
I'm sounding old, Nate.
Yeah, you're too young to sound old.
Well, yeah, but all I will say in my defense is because I can remember my peers saying, "Oh, music today, it's just," all they could say against it was just a racket, boom, boom, boom. But I'm giving you actual reasons and references, and I'm not just saying it to be ignorant, or I do genuinely believe it through I've got objective things on my side.
Yeah, those come in handy, those objective things you got.
I don't know if you ever did you grandparents or relatives go, "Oh, films today aren't like the good old days with I don't know Audrey Hepburn or something."
Well, that's a good point. I mean, my grandparents were never really too big. For most people, movies are just something that they do every now and then. So it's not like they were movie buffs. So, but I can hear what you're saying. I mean, like if there were movie buffs from eras past, I would imagine, for them it got, let's say someone who grew up in the first half of the 20th century, probably they would say stuff was starting to go to shit, in the 50s and the 60s, and so it's all relative, But the thing is, speaking from my age, I mean, I can see good things in movies from all those eras, like 20s,
Exactly, yeah.
20s, 30s,
Exactly.
40s, 50s, 60s. So it's not like I just like movies from my era. I like stuff before my era.
I mean, more or less all I listen to is 60 stuff. I listen to some modern stuff as well, which I like. I think you just have to dig a bit deeper for it nowadays. That's all I'd say. And same with movies. There's still a lot of good movies coming out, I tell you, but they're just not for the masses.
Yep, that's right.
I don't think when I say good movies, as good as Alien or some of the classics, probably still not in the same league. But I'm just saying all I'm saying is there's a lot of filmmakers with passion out there who are unrecognized. There you go.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Can we talk a bit about Prometheus, the prequel?
Yeah, I'd say that'd be kind of appropriate. It'd be interesting to see
Yeah.
what the hell you think of that.
Not a fan.
Oh, okay.
Um, I don't think it's a bad film, and it's Ridley Scott. I think, objectively speaking, there's good things about it. It's made with a lot of class. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not. I was never interested in this whole alien world of, how they got on that planet, and this. It just doesn't interest me. I'm interested in Alien. I mean, with it itself, alien could mean the species that gets on board, or the sense that this is alien to us. We don't know where it came from. We don't know what it is. It's a parasite that got on board. I don't need to know what happened before that, personally.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend these days, and where it's kind of like you've got famous franchises, and they inevitably at some point end up, you know, getting wearing out the moving ahead into the future aspect. So then they start the inevitable going back before the first film started thing. And honestly, I probably like Prometheus maybe more than you do, but it's more for the I guess Ridley Scott back in the sci-fi thing, and just the production design, just some of the callbacks. To the
I've only seen it once, so maybe I need to watch it again. But I found. Sorry, go on. I interrupted.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? But just the callbacks to the production and sound design of the original film, and I haven't seen it for a while. I've seen it a lot more than one time, but I think that would be a good thing for you to do, is maybe revisit it and see how you feel about it. I mean, it's I don't it's fun to see what the hell he did with it and stuff. I'm in the same arena as you in regards to it doesn't it's almost I'd say Alien plays better when you don't know the history behind it. So I don't really care about that. I just had fun with the I guess the sci-fi aspect of Prometheus. So that's my take on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but again, even though it's Ridley Scott and it's got a lot of class, you can tell that I don't think it's anywhere near as good looking as Blade Runner or Alien. Personally, I think it's quite an ugly looking film from what I remember.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So much of it's because the ruins or whatever they come across is dark and dingy and.
Yeah, it still looked a bit too digital for me and computerized. I don't know. It just didn't do much for me, I guess. But
I hear you. That's the thing, though. I mean, it's unfortunate these days. It's hard. I mean, you're not going to have, sci-fi movies that don't have that look, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well. I'm not saying it was objectively bad or anything. I don't know. People are always, we're finally going to find out where the space jockey came from. It's like, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I was hoping when that came out it was just going to be a one and done. And I was kind of disappointed when it's like, okay, I don't know what their plan was, if they were going to do like 3 that leads up to Alien. But I mean, like, if they don't do the third one, that's just going to really be stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I like watching Alien and being through the lens of all the characters like Tom Skerritt and John Hurt going into this world like, what the fuck is this? Just this kind of unworldly feeling and that mystery. And I don't need that. I don't need to know.
No, ultimately I agree with that, and I'm on board. I'm on the same page, absolutely. But I just enjoy the sci-fi aspects of Prometheus.
Yeah, I think it was like at the time I was quite excited about it. It's like, new Alien film, and it's not really an Alien film, is it? But I don't know. A lot of these films seem to get clout if they've got a fancy name like Prometheus or Caligula, which is an really old film. But you know what I mean? If it's got like a name that sounds really, like, I don't know, Hereditary, a long word or something. The critics seem to like it.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a fancy word that you got to look up in the
Yeah,
dictionary.
like Interstellar, Inception. Oh, it must be good. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I want to make a film and just call it Sophisticated, and the critics will go, "Oh my God, it's amazing."
I don't even have to see it, and I know it's good.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. It's like big, long, fancy name, and it's already got clout.
Give me Jaws any day.
Yeah, 4 letters.
Jaws, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is there anything else I want to add? One thing I just like the kind of we talked about what it maybe influenced Alien, Star Wars, Silent Running, 2001, and what was another one? Silent Running. Oh, Dark Star. Could we think of some films influence after Alien, like things that kind of you can see heavily influenced from Alien, maybe?
Oh God, there's all kinds of Roger Corman Z-grade movies that were influenced by Alien. One of my favorite Z-grade sci-fi films, which luckily just came out on Blu-ray, I think this year, by the name of Creature. I don't know if you've heard of me talk about Creature. I'm not too
No.
there's a plethora of Z-grade stuff, but if you're talking about like more actually competent movies that tried to copy Alien, I'm not too sure I can think of anything besides just the Alien sequels, personally.
Yeah. Well, I can think of a TV show that got heavily influenced by Alien. Did you ever watch Red Dwarf?
Oh, okay. No, I haven't. It sounds familiar.
You've heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know what it's about?
No, I don't.
Well, you might like it. I don't know if you like British humour. It's an actual sitcom, but it's a sitcom in space. It's British.
Oh, okay.
And can I tell you the plot dead quick?
If you pay me, yeah.
Okay. Basically, a character on board like a cargo ship or something with a packed crew just smuggles a cat on board, which looks just like Ripley's cat. And because of this, he gets like put into the ship's prison. They call it stasis, so like frozen in time. And within that, there's a space leak which kills the whole crew. And he wakes up a million years later, just because there's been do you get what I mean? Just floating through space, and he comes out, and it's like he's been asleep for 2 minutes, and the whole crew's dead. It's just him, and a mutation of his cat, and a hologram, and the ship's computer he talks to, and it's just a comedy set in space. Yeah, that's the premise of it.
That almost sounds like it's borrowing from the first 2 Alien movies. When did it come out? When did it?
Late 80s. Yeah, mid 80s. But the sets, it looks very cheap. It's low budget, but the sets, you can tell it's definitely influenced by Alien.
Oh, okay.
Like the visually and stuff. It's nowhere near in the same league, but you can tell it kind of wants to be that. But it's funny and it's intriguing. They get into all these like adventures and everything. But it's like, yeah, there's a cat that's evolved into like half cat, half human through millions of years because the cat was pregnant. So while he's been asleep, this cat's evolved family. You get what I mean?
You mean it's had all kinds of over millions of years
and grandkids and
offspring? Yeah, okay.
And it's evolved for a million years, and it's kind of become like a hybrid of human.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And his the one crew member he couldn't stand, which was his roommate, has been brought back by the computer as a hologram, and they have to put up with each other basically. So it's yeah, and it's very British humour, but it's certainly got for a sitcom, it's certainly different.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So
I'd recommend it.
Very cool. So did they deliberately like made the cat look like the one from Alien?
Yeah, on the first episode, like when it's an actual cat.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah, but the guy, they just call him Cat. The guy, when it's a guy, when he wakes up, and he's just like the most vain character ever. He's just like wandering around all day in like posh suits, going, "Hey, I'm looking good." That's all he does all the time. It's quite. But there's an actual episode where there's an alien running around on the ship, and they're trying to get rid of it. So, it's got alien written all over it. But yeah, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, very cool. Then, of course, there's that scene in Spaceballs with actually John Hurt doing the scene over again, and he's like, "Not again!"
Oh, right. Do you know what? I've never watched Spaceballs all the way through.
Oh my God!
I know.
I just ruined it. Well, John Hurt, they have the alien
Oh, right. Oh, that's cool.
You could probably just see the John Hurt scene on YouTube, but alien pops out of him again, and
yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I'll have to check Space. And I know I've seen clips of it. I've never watched it in its entirety. But yeah, I mean, what's your opinion on Alien 3?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I can remember, we saw it in the theater back in the day. I know we were excited, and as the months and weeks approached, and it's getting closer to release. I can tell you that when we saw it, it was a disappointment at the time. I've since come to appreciate its. I do like the style of it, and
it's a good looking film.
Yeah, good looking and good sounding, and I appreciate the the world that the movie creates, and honestly, I do appreciate the going back to the one alien versus just a plethora of them. So there's things I appreciate now about it. I mean, that's why it's the last one I got on Blu-ray, and obviously I like Alien 3 a lot more than Resurrection. So
yeah, I'm going to say something controversial now. I don't like Alien 3. However, I think it's a better looking movie than Aliens.
Oh, okay. I could probably get on board with that. I see what you're saying.
I think it's probably not quite as it's nowhere near. It's not as good looking as the first Alien. But I think it's a better looking. I think Aliens is the worst looking of the first three. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I could probably get on board with that.
Yeah. I find just as I'm getting a bit older, there's something slightly tacky about Aliens. Like the way it looks, some of it. I don't know. I don't know if tacky is the right word or not.
Yeah, it might have been like a slightly, I don't know if it was, the budget might have not as been as big as it looks like, I can see what you're saying. I mean,
some of it looks a bit like Dune.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, there you go. You're gonna have see how many alien haters you got in the comments.
Well, I looked it. The weird thing is, though, I think it's a great film. I just don't think it's as good as the first one.
Yeah, well, that's we're in agreement on that one.
Bring it on.
Yeah, people rarely comment. People rarely comment on the fan discussions for some reason. So if anyone's out there listening, feel free to say something in the comments.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've seen a lot of films, and Aliens is probably still in my top 60 films. So there you go.
Well, the Matt, the guy by the name of Matt, who I started the channel with, do you know what his? Well, you can probably guess, but his favorite, at least back when I knew him, his favorite film was Aliens.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I mean that's perfectly. I get it. It is a great film. It's so entertaining, and like I say, it's well paced, it's well acted, and everything. I just again. Here we go. Aliens is a movie. Alien is a film. There you go.
Hey.
Do you like that?
Not bad.
I just think Alien has got a little bit more class about it. There you go.
Yep, I'd agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Alien Resurrection, I thought was awful for the most part. Some good visual stuff like the underwater stuff, but that's not enough to make a good film. I don't think really.
No, I don't.
Didn't care for it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a reason why I don't. It's the only one of the first four I don't have on Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen Prometheus once. I didn't bother with Alien Covenant because I just thought, I just wasn't interested anymore. And I've never seen Alien versus Predator. And I've never seen Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not missing much by not seeing AVP movies.
Yeah. And I've watched people, like, again, fair enough, I'm just going to put my 2 cents in. Like, say Predator is a bit like Aliens, but Predator's way better than Alien. Sorry, I meant Alien. Say Alien. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, Predator's a good movie, entertaining as hell, but it's not in the same league as Alien.
Well, yeah, Predator would be more in the same league with Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd go along with that. But, yeah. But I'm just getting a bit older now, and my tastes are changing, and I'm maturing like a fine wine, as they say. People are going to want to slag me off after this, I think.
Yeah, they might very well tell you off in the comments, so be sure to keep checking the comments so you can respond to everyone telling you off.
That's all right. You know. But I'm just trying to think of anything else I can say about Alien. I think I've said everything I want to say, really.
Well, that very well might be the case. Yeah, I think it's been over 2 hours, so
Yeah.
longer than the
Have you got
movie.
any final thoughts?
Well, it's I do 4 star. I do 4 stars, so it definitely 4 out of 4 stars for me.
Yeah. I like to do out of 10, if that's all right.
Yep, that's all right.
10. 10
Oh,
out of 10.
well, I think we knew that was coming.
Aliens is a 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good, isn't it? You see, people think I've been slagging off Aliens. I still give it a 9 out of 10. Alien 3 is probably 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Alien 4 4 or 5 at best, I think. Yeah, Prometheus, I'd probably give it a 7, I think.
Yeah, it might almost be worth checking out Prometheus again and see what you think a bit. I mean, it's gonna still look digital, but it'd be interesting to see what a second viewing does for you.
Mm-hmm. What would you give the series out of 10, or do it in stars if you want? Obviously, I know Alien 4 stars, or 10 out of 10 if you want. Like Aliens, what would you say?
I'd probably, oh Jesus, let's see, Aliens. I think, because I like I guess I'd give the extended cut. Which cut of Aliens are you referring to? Theatrical?
Oh, I like the extended cut better, actually.
I'd probably give the extended cut 4 out of 4 because I love the whole. I think the lost daughter and regaining of a new daughter kind of thing is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's been another day. Do you know what, though? I could put Aliens on tonight on this big screen, and I might give it 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's just the screen size that does it.
I might put... any film I put on it turns amazing. I've got a magic screen.
Alien Resurrection. Oh, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, throw Alien Resurrection on the big screen.
This might just change my feelings about every film I've ever seen.
There you go. Don't Go in the Woods on the big screen.
Yeah. Jason Takes Manhattan. Yeah. But yeah, just to cap off, I'll say, I said this about Dirty Harry, very innovative. This is even way more innovative than Dirty Harry. We're talking, this is like, this bar a few, minus a few exterior shots of models, this holds up very, very well. I mean, it looks amazing. It's on par with Terminator 2, Jurassic Park. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and as we were saying before, I do. It's maybe people would call it a cop out, but I do think that even some of the faker effects still have a charm to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a few more points. Just it's sophisticated. I think if it come out 10 years earlier, when Ash is, say for instance, a scene like when Ash is attacking Ripley, there'd have been dramatic over the top music, like scary scene. But no music in that at all. They just let it. It's sophisticated.
Yeah, that's a good point. He knew when to not have music as well.
Because I find that a lot about like pre-70s movies. They didn't always quite know how to hold music back. It's like, well, we've got an exciting scene, exciting music. We've got a sad scene, sad music. We've got a love, you know what I mean? It's all very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Conventional in that sense.
Yeah, just what's expected and...
Yeah, kind of no irony or anything. It was just on the nose, as they say. Yeah, so I honestly can't praise this film enough. Fantastic, 10 out of 10. One of the best films ever made. Certainly, like in Hollywood terms, like mainstream movies. One of the most innovative films ever made. Yeah, I don't think I can say anything else. Love it.
Well said. Yeah, it's a great classic, and we definitely share the same viewpoint on this one.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, I think I'm going to call. Oh, one thing we didn't mention: the tagline. In space, no one can hear you scream. How classic is that?
Yeah, that's almost another lost art. Can you think of a recent poster that even has any kind of a cool...
You know what? There was a film called, was it Apollo 14? I haven't seen it. Apparently it was rubbish. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a found footage movie.
Oh, yeah, I think I might have it.
A found footage movie on the moon where they come across some monster on there. And out of the tagline, there's a reason we haven't been back to the moon, and I thought that was a cool tagline. I like that.
Yeah, that's fun. Okay.
I like that. I thought that's good. Is there anything else?
In regards to what? Alien?
Yeah, taglines.
Oh. Not that I can think of. My brain's kind of mushed this far into a discussion, so...
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. No film has an identity. Think of all the classic films that have got memorable theme tunes. When was the last time anyone wrote a memorable theme tune for anything?
Yeah, that's very true. You're talking about what? A theme for a movie music?
Yeah. Where's the equivalent now to like da 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 da, or something as classic as Star Wars or E.T. or, Psycho. There's nothing.
Have you ever seen Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow? That's got a really good music.
No, I haven't. Is that quite modern?
That's from 2004.
Okay. Well, 18 years ago.
I'd recommend
2004, 18 years ago.
My brain's too mushy to do the math on that.
2022. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're old.
Wow, not quite as old as you yet, neighbor.
Ooh,
Sorry.
nice. What do they call it? Comeback. Yeah.
Touche, touche. Yes. Uh, so, yeah, I mean, when I was born, this film was 12 years old,
Holy how.
and now it's 43 years old.
You're old.
Well, yeah. I know. Yeah, you got to remember when a lot of these, I suppose when we were watching films like in the 90s, Indiana Jones and Star Wars wasn't all that old really at that point, was it? You know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when I was growing up with the Star Wars movies, they weren't even old.
Yeah. What year were you born again, if you don't mind me asking?
How dare you, sir?
Yeah. It's all right to ask a man their age. It's rude to ask a woman their age, you see.
Okay, well, you have no idea what I identify as, but anyway,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
1976.
Okay, what a year. What a
Yeah,
year. So you're 1 year older than Star Wars.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I think Star Wars was conceived much earlier than that in George Lucas's head, so.
Yeah, conceived before I was, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what came out in 1976 movie-wise? Rocky?
I'm not so familiar with the Rocky movies in their release years, but I think some good horror schlock stuff I like. I can't, maybe Grizzly, possibly. Grizzly.
Oh, okay.
I know there's a lot of horror schlock stuff that's 76. I can't think of it off the top of my mushy head.
Yeah, I like a lot from the 70s. It's kind of, I think I said to Jake Harry, it's kind of a bit limbo to me. It's not quite the 60s, it's not quite the 80s. I don't know. It's just like slasher films haven't quite been defined yet, and I don't know. It's just a weird crossover point.
Transition decade.
Yeah, do you think so?
Well, I guess I consider it more of its own decade than a transition decade, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean it as a compliment as well, though, because Limbo is great. What I mean is, it's kind of like just really out there movies coming out.
Oh, okay. Well, then Limbo's a compliment.
Yeah, Last House on the Left. Stuff like that, which is way ahead of its time. Another one. It's kind of bad some of that film is in a lot of ways. It's innovative. Say it's 1972. What was I going to say? 70 certainly does have a definitive look, and Alien is pretty timeless. It doesn't necessarily feel like a 70s movie. It kind of does and it doesn't to me a bit, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny how you caught me at what I said like earlier. Like, yeah, it looks like it could have come out today, and you're like, well, no, if it come out today, it'd be shit.
Yeah. How dare you, old chap? How dare you? I know what I was going to say. Like, it amazes me, film history, and just to think the evolution of cinemas, how things would have been released. I can imagine this was fairly conventionally released as a major release, but something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Last House on the Left, where the hell they'd be shown, I don't know. Were they, like, major releases? I don't know.
Yeah, like Chainsaw, from what I understand, was like distributed by this company that was like owned by the mob or some shady outfit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you'd probably have to see like Chainsaw and Last House in kind of more seedy theaters maybe back in the day. Like you say, Alien's gonna be a kind of a major motion picture. It's gonna play more and more more places, I would think.
Mm. Well, I remember I'm always like interested in old cinemas and theaters and stuff. Just what would have played there and what wouldn't, and because there's been that many films, and we like quite obscure stuff. Like I suppose Black Christmas is obscure, not in the horror community, but it's fairly obscure. I wonder if that would have played down the local cinema where I grew up, which only had one screen. So probably not.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, back in the singleplex theater days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't too far off that. Our local cinema only had 3 screens, which got turned into a snooker hall / bar, and then became it's like a church, like a Methodist church or something. And then they built a new cinema. I think it was like 1998, something like that. Like a big complex with, like, I don't know, 12 screens. And I remember me and my dad going to try it out for the first time, and we watched George of the Jungle. Remember that?
Well, I've never seen it, but yeah, is that Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, late 90s.
Okay.
Because I was going to see all the kiddies film Dr. Dolittle. I remember going to see that there at this new cinema, and it was all like, oh, you can have luxury seats, and and it had its own little cafe and stuff, and it was like, wow, this is modern. So yeah, I like all that.
Yeah, good old cinema days. That'd be a good movie about movie fanatics.
Yeah. God, have you guessed what my first ever film was? My first ever film I saw at the cinema. See if you can guess.
Oh hell!
My first time I ever set foot in a cinema. What was the film?
Dumbo.
Jesus, how old do you think I am?
Well, it could have been like I saw, a re-release of Fantasia in '79.
No, no, it was a new release at the time.
Let's see here. So you would have in the '90s. You saw Jurassic Park.
No, I was 2. I was 2 when Jurassic Park came out. I would have been too young to go.
Okay.
It was 1996.
Mission Impossible.
No. Should I tell you?
Well, yeah. Otherwise, this is going to take a long time.
Toy Story.
Oh yeah, I never would have guessed that. Okay.
Toy Story.
And what did you think of it?
I was blown away. Yeah. I think because it was the cinema, the first time I'd ever been, and I think Toy Story is a damn good film for what it is. When you're really impressionable at that age, I remember my brother and my dad teasing me because it was just, we'd got there early and it was just the white screen, nothing on it yet, with just a bit of music playing. And I was going, why, when you're a kid, you're stupid, and you say, why is nothing happening? My dad said, oh, this is it. Well, you just have to imagine. Imagine it. And I was like throwing a tantrum. I was like, are you serious? So just teasing me kind of stuff.
Wow.
My dad was always playing pranks on me. He used to chase, when there was a busy spider in the house, he used to chase me around the house with it.
Holy Toledo.
There's no wonder I'm traumatized.
Yeah.
That's a nice memory of being teased.
So then, you would have been what, 5?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you want a Buzz Lightyear toy?
Well, I always wanted Woody, and I never got it.
Oh hell.
Yeah. Did you like Toy Story?
I did at the time, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like Toy Story is kind of like the beginning of. It's kind of like a lot of good come from it, but it's also kind of like the beginning of the end as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the beginning of the computer generated replacing traditional animation.
Yeah, I mean, but it was good though. It is good. I will say, for what it is, it's good at computer animation. I feel. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, you can't dispute that. It's just a bummer that it helped usher in the era of the end of traditional
Mm.
animation.
It's a bit like Spielberg. I feel like he's the hero of cinema and almost kind of like the villain in a way. He's like kind of created a monster. Like he created the blockbuster in a way, which was great, and it's evolved into just mush. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Blockbuster, was good initially, but then it also is what so many
Yeah.
movies strive to be, and they all kind of the same, like all those trailers you saw.
Mm. I mean, you could say that about slashers. I mean, you could say Halloween is kind of like the beginning of a monster and just coming out with schlock. But ironically, I love all those slasher films. So you get what I mean, though.
I get what you mean.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm not calling Friday the 13th schlock. Don't worry.
Well, you better not.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. So I got into Toy Story and Friday the 13th. There you go.
Yeah, you're way off topic.
Way off topic, but why not? And Nate, I had someone. I can't take credit. I can't remember where I heard this, but someone come up with a good idea for a Halloween. No, Friday the 13th movie, just to do something different. Why not Camp Crystal Lake in the snow, just in the winter?
Oh yeah, that's been an idea floating around for a long time.
Is it?
Yeah, oh
How
yeah.
would you feel? How would you feel about that?
I'd be fine with it. I mean, it's a way to to make it new and keep it in the location I like. So I'd be fine with it. That way, there would finally be a Friday film that I could feel like I could watch in the winter. I
Yeah,
generally don't watch them in the winter, but I really could.
yeah,
But yeah, I'd be okay with it. There's so many that are in the summer months. I'd be fine with
yeah.
it.
It'd have been cool if there was one that came out in the heyday of Friday the 13th, like that, I guess. But and it could have been shot on film and had an 80s vibes. That would have been cool, I guess. But, oh
Yeah,
well.
that would have been cool. I much just would much rather have Jason in the snow than
Yeah.
Manhattan or space or in someone else's body.
Yeah. Friday the 13th, part 9. Jason goes skiing. There you
Yeah.
go. Jason builds a snowman.
There's all kinds of options.
Jason takes Christmas.
Hey.
There you go. There you go. Right. Okay. Why not Jason versus Alien?
Wow, you gotta book a what do they call them, a pitch meeting in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, just we could tail off. Are you going to see this new Halloween film?
Oh yeah, for everyone wondering, this is being recorded on October 13th, so you better believe it. I'm all ready to see Halloween Ends tomorrow on Peacock. So
Yeah. Today is the true sequel to Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 14th now.
oh yeah, it's
We're
that's true. Where you are, it's Friday the 14th.
Yeah. So you're going to see it, did you say?
I'm not going to. I'm going to see it in the comfort of my own home on
Mm-hmm.
Peacock.
On Peacock. Okay. Yeah, I've kind of lost interest really in Halloween. Not the first three, but everything after that, it just doesn't interest me, to be honest. As you know, it's just me. But what about the Rob Zombie Monsters movie? Have you seen that?
No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the Munsters at all, but
Mm.
that's okay.
Yeah, I got memories of Saturday morning that being on, which is a bit random. England in the 90s showing the Munsters. Like, we're talking like 7 o'clock in the morning on the Saturday. And it used to be on. I used to watch it. Obviously, repeats. You call them reruns, don't you? We call them repeats.
Yeah, they're reruns.
Reruns. What's a rerun?
Let me guess, Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's brand new. Do you know I've got two TVs?
No one's got two television sets.
Who the hell is John F. Kennedy? There we go. All right, we'll really get off into a tangent, but yeah, Aliens is the dog's danglies, as they say, the bee's knees, where it's at. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Check it out right now. It's an amazing film.
I do think you actually said aliens just then.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Aliens is great too. Yeah. And remember, they mostly come at night. Mostly. All right, Alien stops it because it's got that line in it.
There you go.
They mostly come at night. There used to be a kid at school I used to sit next to. He just always used to say that. Mostly come at night. Mostly.
So he'd be doing that line from the movie.
Yeah. Mostly. I was always quoting films with my friends. That was my thing, and you know, I remember being in like year 5 at school. We called them. You call them grades, don't you? So, 5th grade.
Yeah, 5th grade. Yep.
And maybe 5th grade, 6th grade, and I'd had the Rambo trilogy box set on VHS. I was just like Rambo obsessed. So I was going and telling everyone how great Rambo was. You need to watch Rambo right now.
So you mean you need to watch all 3 or any specific one?
Oh, well, at the time, I was obsessed with all 3. I thought they were all great. But as I've got older, I've realised Rambo 3 is the best one. And I'm joking. First Blood, obviously. Yeah. But I will say, even at the time, my little blonde-haired, naive self with chubby cheeks recognised that the first one was the best one because it was subtle. Even back then, I remember thinking that's the best one because it's got more story.
Wow, way to go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just big. High five, young Will. You know.
Yeah.
There you go. And even back then, I was having an argument. My older brother, he said Terminator 2 was better. I said, no, Terminator 1's better. Even back then, I think it's because I like Kyle Reese with a shotgun. I always thought Kyle Reese was cool, but there you go.
Well, way to go. Way to go, Will.
Yeah, just blow my own trumpet now, you know. Right,
Yeah.
I think this is Will Powell, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off. I think that's a good way to end.
Yeah.
You know what? I like how she goes. Kane, Lambert, Parker, Burke, Ash, dead. She says Ash with a bit of like, that motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Did she save his name last? Probably.
So, I think second. No, she says Dallas last because he was the captain, but she just says Ash with a bit of Ash. Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
Well, thanks for having me, Nate. I think, yeah, I've really enjoyed it, and I get really something. A film like this, like it just kind of comes naturally talking about. There's so much to talk about, isn't there? It's just, yeah, fantastic film, and yeah, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, I'll love to come back and talk more movies if that's cool, and if you can think of something you want to talk about or a subject, let me know, and I'm always happy to come back. So yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Will. Thanks to you as well for coming on to talk about Alien, and thanks for suggesting it. Good suggestion, and guess we'll catch you on the next one, Will.
Okay, signing off. All right, cheers, Nate. Bye.
Bye, Will.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. If anyone still is listening, if there's anyone out there who would like to do one of these Skype movie discussions that hasn't done it yet, feel free to let me know in the comments. There's, I'm not just doing them with Will exclusively or Jesse exclusively or Matt Haggerty exclusively. Anyone's welcome to do one of these. Just let me know in the comments, and we'll see if we can figure it out. But at any rate, this has been another fan discussion of Alien, obviously. You probably already know that. Wanted to take this opportunity to thank anyone who's still listening for listening. And as always, we'll catch you on the next discussion and or review or whatever the hell ends up on this channel. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot.